Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning government. And this is a JAMB class for government. We are following JAMB syllabus to try as much as possible to follow JAMB syllabus. In order for us to get everything that we need. So today we're going to be learning about the meaning of government. What does government mean? And we can say that government is an institution of the state that has the machinery or agency through which the state's will is formulated, expressed, and attained. Government, as an institution of the state, is the agency or machinery through which the will of the state is formulated, expressed, and attained. Government, as an institution of the state, is the agency or machinery through which the will of the state is formulated, expressed, and attained. Is that clear? So we can define government as and what? Institution of the state as the agency or what? Machinery, isn't it? Through which what? The will of the state is what? Formulated, expressed, and what? Attained. That is what government is. It is the agency or machinery through which the will of the state is. What is the will of the state? Do you know a state like Nigeria? Let's take Nigeria for instance in explaining what government is. You know Nigeria has a government that is headed by Mr. President General Muhammadu Buhari and the National Assembly, isn't it? That is made up of the Senate and the House of Assembly. Then the state governors. We also have the Judiciary. All these make up the government. And that's why we see it is the agency or machinery of the state. So it is made up of many things that include the president himself, the governors, the National Assembly, and the Judiciary, through which the will of the state is attained. What is the will of the state? What is the will of Nigeria? The will of Nigeria is to ensure the security of the populace, isn't it? And to ensure that the populace are feeling comfortable. To ensure that nobody comes to your house and steals your things, isn't it? To ensure that there is peace and tranquility in the land. Those are the will of the state. To ensure that everybody is healthy, that there is adequate health care, that everybody is well protected in the country. So those are the will of the state. So that machinery of the agency through which this will of the state is attained and expressed or formulated is known as government. Is that clear? So it is the duty of the government to ensure that the will of the state is what? Formulated, expressed, and attained. So first of all, it has to be formulated, isn't it? By the laws the National Assembly people make. And it is expressed explicitly in the Constitution. And how is it attained? By the executive actions of the president, isn't it? When the president builds roads, builds hospitals, the populace are healthy. They can get health care when they want, isn't it? So that is the essence of government. The essence of government is to make sure that everybody in the country is comfortable, isn't it? Through its various machineries. Government can ensure peace and law and order in the society through the police, isn't it? Government can defend the country through the military, isn't it? Government can ensure that everybody gets justice through the judiciary, isn't it? So that this definition is all encompassing. It tells us also that the will of the state The will of the state is also the function of the government, is it not? So that is what government is. We can also, there are also other definitions of government as a process or art of government. We can also define government as what? As a what? Process or what? Art of what? Governing. And in this definition, what is it? It is what? The body vested with what? With the power and what? Authority to do what? For maintaining security. What again? Peace. What again? And stability. Isn't it? How does he achieve that? By making what? By making and what? Enforcing conventional and fundamental what? Laws in a given society or state. Is that? So this is another definition of government. Government as a process or art of governance is the body vested with the power and authority for maintaining security, peace and what? Stability by making and enforcing conventional and fundamental what? Laws in a given society. It is the duty of the government to make law. Through which arm of government is law made? Through the what? Legislature. So it is the duty of the government is the body that is vested with the power and authority of maintaining security and peace and stability by making what? And enforcing laws. So when the legislative arm of the government makes the law, the executive arm of the government does what? Enforces it. Is that clear? So it is the duty of the government, or you can explain government as the body that is vested with the power and authority for maintaining security, peace and stability by making what? Laws. When you know there is a law that forbids somebody killing somebody, will you go and kill? No, because you know that when you kill, you go to jail. So it is the duty of the government to make sure that the appropriate laws are made in the state so that people can stay in peace. Is that clear? So that is the definition of government. Now we are going to look at the second aspect of this class known as the basic what? Concepts. Basic concepts in government. We are going to look at the basic concepts in government. Basic concepts in government. And here we are going to be looking at number one, power. Number two, we are going to be looking at authority. Number three, we are going to be looking at legitimacy, and number four we're going to be looking at sovereignty. Basic concepts in government. We are looking at the basic concepts in government. Basic concepts in government are those concepts that you need to understand first. You understand? So that when we are talking about government, you will be accustomed, you'll be used to the words that we are using. So these concepts are concepts like power. You need to know what power means in government. You need to know what authority means in government. And you need to know what legitimacy and sovereignty means. What is power? Power may be defined or is defined as the ability. You understand? Your ability to control. Is that clear? The actions. Power is the ability to control the actions of others. Through the possession of means of sanction. Through the possession of means of sanction. That is what power is. Power is the ability to control the action of other people through the possession of a means of sanction. Is that clear? So when you have power, you can make other people to obey you. When you have power, you make other people to obey you. You can control the actions of other people. The government of Nigeria has power, isn't it? That's why when the government says we don't want this to happen and it will not happen, isn't it? If the government says nobody should steal other people's property, if the government says we don't tolerate corruption in Nigeria, and you go and indulge in corruption, what will happen to you? You will be sent to jail, isn't it? So power is your ability to control other people, to control the actions of other people through the possession of means of sanction. Is that clear? Now, what is authority? Authority is the power or right to give orders and enforce obedience. That clear? Authority is the power or right to give orders and enforce obedience. You understand? So, in other words, we can say that authority gives one, exactly, the right to command others to obey as a duty. Is that clear? Authority gives one the right to command others. Authority gives one. If I have an authority, I will be given the right to command you. You understand? That is authority. It's different from power. In the sense that power could be identified in various forms. You understand? There is physical power, like the power that I can use in moving you from there to here. That is physical power, isn't it? There is military power, the kind of power that military men have, isn't it? There is also charismatic power, kind of power that people like pastors have. When they preach to you, when they talk to you, they have the power to make you do what you wouldn't have done ordinarily. Is that clear? Now we have authority. When somebody has authority, he has the right to give you order. You understand? He's not coercing you to do something, but because of his position his position of authority in the society, once he asks you to do something, you just do it. That is authority. Now we talk about legitimacy. What is legitimacy? Legitimacy simply means something that is lawful or according to law. Something that is what? Something that is lawful or according to law. When you say that this government is a legitimate government, it means that the government is lawful. Legitimacy is something that is lawful or according to law. When you say that a government is legitimate, It means that the process through which the government came into power, it is what lawful. That's the meaning of legitimacy. It is a situation of being lawful. Legitimacy is a situation of being lawful. Is that clear? Situation of being lawful. That's what legitimacy is. Something that is appropriate, something that is in order is legitimate. Then we talk about sovereignty. What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is the absolute power of the state to exercise. Is that clear? The absolute power of the state to exercise what? Supreme, legal authority over its what? Own affairs. Over its own affairs within its territory. Is that clear? Sovereignty is the absolute power. Sovereignty is the absolute power of a state or of the state to exercise supreme law, supreme legal authority over its own affairs within its territory without any form of external control. Without any form of external control. Why we say that Nigeria is a sovereign nation is because USA cannot tell Nigeria what to do. Is that clear? Nigeria has absolute power to exercise what? Supreme legal authority over its affairs. Is that clear? So we say Nigeria is a sovereign nation because Ghana will not tell Nigeria what to do. And Nigeria cannot tell Ghana what to do because Ghana is also a sovereign nation. Is that clear? So when a nation has the power to exercise supreme legal authority over its affairs without any other nation or any other country having any form of control on it, then we say that such nation or country has what we call sovereignty. Is that clear? Has what we call what? Sovereignty. Has what we call what? Sovereignty. Now we're going to continue. In this order. Now we look at the concept of a number 5, concept of a what? State. Concept of a what? State. What is a state? What is a state? A state is a politically organized. A state is a politically organized body of people. Politically organized body of people. Occupying a what? Definite geographical area or territory. A state is a politically organized body of people occupying a definite geographical territory with an organized government. With an organized government entirely free from external control. Entirely free from what? External control. And with coercive force to secure what? Obedience. Secure obedience from his citizens and others. So that is the definition of a state. A state is a politically organized body of people occupying a definite geographical territory with an organized government entirely free from external control with coercive force to secure obedience from its citizens. Example of a state is what? The USA, isn't it? Nigeria. Nigeria is a state, isn't it? Egypt. Ghana. So in government, that is what state is called. Number 6 sub-concept we are going to look at is society. What is society? Society is any kind and degree relationship entered into by man or by men, whether organized or unorganized. Is that clear? Direct or indirect. Conscious or unconscious. Cooperative or antagonistic. You understand? So any form of relationship that exists between men and women is known as a society. Any kind of or degree of relationship that you enter into is known as society. And it could be organized or unorganized, direct or indirect, conscious or unconscious, cooperative or antagonistic. Example of a society, your kingsmen. You understand? Your family. You understand? Fraternity is a society, isn't it? Secret cults. Secret cults. The age group. So if you go to some village, they have age group meetings, isn't it? If you go to churches, you also see some societies inside the churches. Because there are a group of people that come together to have some certain things they share together. That is society. Unlike states, that is politically organized. Is that clear? Is that clear? Good. So let's look at more other concepts. So let's look at other concepts, like number 7 is what? Political culture. Political culture. And lastly, number 8 concept we are going to look at is political socialization. So this is the 2 remaining concepts. And political culture is the attitude, sentiments, beliefs, ideas and norms that guide the behavior of the people in a political system. This is what political culture is. Political culture is the attitude, sentiment, beliefs, ideas and norms that guide the behavior of people in a political system, political culture. Nigeria has its own peculiar political culture. Is that clear? Because this political culture is actually the belief, the sentiment, the attitude that actually guides the behavior of the populace in a given political culture, in a given political system. So our political culture are those our beliefs that guide our behavior. Most times in Nigeria, after election, we normally complain of rigging, isn't it? We complain of rigging after election. After election, we also complain about inducement of the electorate with money. When you go to some polling booths, some politicians will be sharing money at the polling booths, isn't it? In Nigeria, after election, there is normally election violence. Most times, people start fighting, isn't it? When the person that wins the election is not the person they want to win, they'll start fighting. Exactly. But in recent times, in places like UK and America, after election, during the election, have you ever gotten news that there are people sharing money at the polling booths? No. Do you always see election violence during the election? No. You see? So the two systems are different. Because of what? The attitude, the sentiment, the belief, the ideas, the norms of the different people are different, isn't it? So that's what we call political culture. Then what is political socialization? Political socialization is a process by which the citizens, citizens are educated on the values, on the what? Values, attitudes, and what? Beliefs of the what? Political system. Is that clear? Is that clear? So the process by which you learn the political culture of a given group of people is the political what? Socialization, isn't it? For you to get knowledge of the political culture of a given area or given political system, you need to undergo what we call political what? Socialization. And that's why in modern times you see there is what we call reorientation in Nigeria. Political parties and Enactments. Before the election, you see in the radio, you continue hearing in the radio and seeing on the television, they will be telling people that they should not be political talks, isn't it? That they should not fight during the election, and they should not collect bribe, isn't it? All these are forms of political war socialization. You're trying to give them the right belief so that they don't go on perpetuating political culture that is not good. Is that clear? So for you to effect the adequate change in political culture, you have to do a very good political what? Socialization. Because political socialization is all about education. You educate the citizen. You tell the citizen, These and these are not good for the political system of Nigeria. Bribery, corruption, snatching of ballot boxes. You see in some communities they snatch ballot boxes, isn't it? So you need to preach against them by educating the citizens on things that are good and things that are not good. So when you're doing that, you're undergoing people are undergoing what we call political what? Socialization. Is that clear? And those are the concepts in government. So in the next class we look at forms of government. Is that clear? Thank you. Hello, welcome. Today we are going to be learning forms of government. Today we are going to be learning what? Forms of government. Can you tell me the form of government we are having in Nigeria? Are we in the military rule? Are we having dictatorship? Or are we having a democracy? What form of government do we have in Nigeria? Democracy. That's what we are having in Nigeria. Democracy. Forms of government. There are different forms of government that a given state might be having at a time, isn't it? There was once in Nigeria when we were having military rule, is it not? We had dictators being our leaders. Individuals that have absolute power to tell you what to do. But now we are having what we call democracy, isn't it? I would say that democracy is government of the people, by the people and for the what? People. So there are various forms of government that we have. There are various what? Forms of government that we have. So we have forms of government like democracy, is it? We have aristocracy, is it? We have monarchy, is it? There are some countries that have monarchy, isn't it? So there are different forms of government. We are going to look at all the forms. These are not the only forms of government we have, but we'll take them one by one. Number one, we're going to look at what? Democracy. We're going to look at what? Democracy. It's a form of government. So what is democracy? There are various definitions of democracy. There is a popular definition that says democracy is government by the what? Government by the people. Government of the people. Government of the what? People by the people and what? For the people. That is one definition of democracy, isn't it? But that's not the only definition of democracy. We can say that democracy is a system of what? Government, where all the qualified adults. Democracy is a system of government where all the qualified adults, or you can say adult citizens, is that clear? Where the qualified adult citizens share the supreme power to do what? Directly or what? Or through their what? Representatives. Exactly. So how do you share from this power? By voting, is it not? If you don't want APC to be in power, during the voting you vote PDP, is it not? In the last election, we didn't want PDP to be in power, so we voted what? APC. That is what Nigeria voted. Nigeria voted APC. So if APC is not doing well, in the next election, they will vote another party, isn't it? They might decide to vote AD, APGA, PDP, Labour Party. There are plenty of parties, you understand? So in democracy, all the adult citizens have the right to determine who is their leader, isn't it? So you show that right by, that right is exercised by voting. What are the features of democracy? How do you know that a given state is running a democratic system of government? How do you know that a given state is running a democratic system of government? What are the features of democracy? What are the features of democracy? Number one, there has to be regular or what? Periodic what? Periodic what? Elections. For you to say that a state is practicing democracy, there has to be a regular or periodic election. There has to be election from time to time. Is it not? Is it not? Number two, after the elections, majority. After the election, what? Majority rule in the what? Country. That's how you know you are practicing democracy. Is that clear? If more people voted for PDP, PDP will be in power, isn't it? If more people voted for APC, APC will be in power. In democracy, there is what we call equality before the what? Law. Nobody is above the law in democracy. There must be rule of law. Is that clear? In democracy, there has to be what we call respect for what? Rights of the minority groups. Is that clear? You will not say because some group are very few in number that their rights will not be respected. Actually, in other words, there has to be respect for the rights of every citizen, whether the person is in the minority group or in the majority group. Is that clear? So those are the various features of what? Democracy. In democracy, there has to be regular election. If we are not having election, then we are not running democracy, isn't it? There has to be election from time to time. Then there has to be majority rule. If you go to the Senate and there is a bill to be passed, and the Senate President says those in support say ah, and more people say ah, those that are not in support say nay, and lesser people say nay. Are we going to pass the law or leave the law? Pass it, because there are more people that say ah, there has to be majority. That is what democracy is all about. That is what democracy is all about. It's all about majority. It's all about respect for the rights of the citizen. Now we look at the what? Merits and the what? Demerits. Merits and what? The merits of society, democracy. Why is democracy good? Number one, democracy promotes political participation. Democracy promotes what? Political participation. It's only in democracy that you see people vote, isn't it? If we are having a monarchy, like the Oba of Benin, do they come together to vote the Oba of Benin? No, it's by hereditary. Once the Oba dies, maybe the son becomes the next Oba. So it's not democracy. Or in democracy, there is what we call political participation. Everybody participates in bringing out the leader. Number two, there is what we call legitimacy. Legitime what? Mercy. When there is democracy, people, it comes through the law. There is said that it's lawful. Is it? Everybody in the society has to support it, so it becomes legitimate. It becomes lawful because it follows through laid down rules. We call it Electoral Act. You have to obey the Electoral Act. You have to obey the electioneering system to bring out the leader. So there is legitimacy. And number three is that there is what we call choice. There is what? Choice of political leadership. Choice of what? Political leadership. You can choose between Muhammad Buhari or Alhaji Atiku, isn't it? You can choose between Fashola or Ambodi, isn't it? So there is choice. You have the ability to choose who and who not to vote for. So what are the demerits of democracy? What are the disadvantages? Or what are the things that don't encourage democracy? You might have things like inadequate what? Political education. Inadequate what? Political education. If you're having a democracy in a given place and you do not conscientize the people on why they are voting and on why they are going to vote for so and so person, they might be wrongly influenced to vote for the wrong person, isn't it? So if they are not educated very well, they might go and vote for somebody that is not competent. And when you vote somebody that is not competent, what happens to the nation? The nation falls into big stress. Is that clear? The nation falls into big problems. There will be chaos, there will be disrespect for rule of law, there will be very bad economy. Is that clear? So there needs to be nice and good political education so that people will vote for the right person. Then number two, there could be problem of representation. You understand? What do we mean by problem of representation? When you vote somebody to the Senate or House of Assembly, and instead of the person going to the Senate or House of Assembly to protect the rights and the interests of the people that voted him in, and he goes there and starts putting his own personal interests first, that is a problem of what? Representation. That is a problem of what? Representation. When those people in the House of Assembly go to the House of Assembly and all they care about is buying expensive cars for themselves, is that clear? Instead of making laws that are good for you. But when somebody becomes a governor and continues to enrich himself or his family, at that time, is he representing the interest of the populace? No, and that is wrong. So it's very wrong. So that could be a demerit of democracy, when you elect somebody and it's not doing what you want. Is that clear? Is that clear? So in the next classes, we are going to be learning about oligarchy and aristocracy and other forms of government. Yes, welcome to today's class. We are continuing forms of government. We are continuing our lectures on forms of government. Forms of government. In the previous class, we learned about democracy. We learned about what? Democracy. And we said that democracy is a form of government where eligible citizens vote, isn't it? They choose their leaders. In another word, we can say that democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people, isn't it? It is the best form of government known for now. Now we're going to look at other forms of government. Number one is what we call oligarchy. Number one is what we call what? Oligarchy. And this oligarchy simply means a government ruled by few privileged and powerful people. A government ruled by what? Few privileged and powerful people. It is a selfish form of government that benefits only few. Is that clear? Oligarchy is not democratic. It's not the people that vote them in. The government there is consisting of few powerful people. You understand? Once you're powerful, maybe you're very rich, or you have the ancestral trait of leadership. Leadership like monarchs, you understand? Monarchs. You see some governments in Africa, they install themselves because they are very rich and powerful. You understand? They cannot go out. And you see them, you see their family. Them within their family, championing the affairs of the state. That is oligarchy. a type of government that is ruled by few privileged people. Is that clear? Now we have what we call aristocracy. Aristocracy, that's another form of government, aristocracy. And what is aristocracy? It is a form of government by the best and most qualified people in the state. You understand? Jamb is going to ask you, which form of government has its leaders as the best and most qualified people in the state? You know it is what? Aristocracy. A government by the best and most qualified people in the state, or by those seen as superior citizens to whom people look up to for leadership. You understand? It can also be called a government by nobility. Government by what? Nobility. People that are most qualified. Who can tell me the merits of aristocracy? What are the advantages of aristocracy? What are the advantages of aristocracy? Aristocracy uses the most qualified people to rule. Is that clear? It is not by numbers, it is not by voting. You understand? It uses the best brain, the most people that are most qualified. Is that clear? So if somebody is qualified enough to be your leader, possibly the leadership will be a good one, isn't it? So, and what can you say is the demerit? What is the disadvantage of aristocracy? It is not democratic. It is not what? Democratic. We say that democracy is the best form of government, is it not? So anything that is not democratic might not be very good, because it does not involve the larger majority of people putting them into power. You understand? It's simply the government by the most qualified person. But at the same time, the people might not really want the person, isn't it? So government is based on when it has legitimacy, when plenty people want that very government to be in power. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now we're going to look at another form of government, which is the number 4 form of government. And that form is what we call monarchy. That form is called what? Monarchy. Who can tell me where monarchy is practiced? Countries where monarchy is practiced? England, Britain, they are using monarchy. This is the form of government under the rule of a king, queen, or emperor. Or what? Emperor. That is monarchy. It's a form of government under the rule of a king, queen, or an emperor. A form of government under the rule of a king, queen, or what? Emperor. King, queen, or what? Emperor. That is monarchy. Is that clear? Is that clear? And if it is a king, queen, or king, the ruler is often called the monarch. It's often called the what? Monarch. In northern Nigeria, we also have very strong monarchy. You understand? The Sultan of Sokoto is in charge, isn't it? In Kano, we have the Emir of Kano. That's the monarch, isn't it? In some places, the monarch has absolute power. In some places, the monarch has what? Absolute power. The monarch can give instructions and order that people don't need to contest. Is that clear? If you also go to Saudi Arabia, we also have the king there, isn't it? So there are some places where we have a king. What are the merits of monarchy? What are the merits of monarchy? Number one, there is what we call political stability. There is what we call what? Political stability. You find that in places where monarchs are in charge, there is always political stability. Maybe because of the absolute power the monarch has. Have you ever seen somebody challenging the Sultan of Sokoto or the Emir of Kano? No. The monarchs have this power by virtue of their position. Is that clear? Is that clear? Also, there is what we call historical and cultural strength. There is historical and what? Cultural strength. The Sultan or the Sokoto Caliphate has very big respect historically and culturally, you understand, because of the monarchy. You understand? The same thing happens to the Oba of Benin, the king of Saudi Arabia. There is this respect that goes, this cultural respect or cultural strength that goes with a monarch. Is that clear? Then there is the monarch also enjoys what we call loyalty. Enjoys what we call what? Loyalty. What are the demerits? What are the demerits of monarchy? What are the disadvantages of monarchy? The monarchy does not accept the principle of majority. It does not accept the principle of what? Majority. You cannot say because you don't want it or because of the masses don't want it that it doesn't happen. The person that has the final say is the what? The monarch. The person that has the final say is the what? Monarch. There is no election. There is no what? Election in a government that is run by the monarch system. It is by appointment, you understand, or by inheritance. If you want to make the next Sultan or the next Emir of Kano, will you say everybody should come, let's vote for the person? It is by inheritance. It is already there. Is that clear? So in an event where the monarch does not have good character, you cannot use election to vote him. You cannot vote him out. You understand? He perpetuates his time in the office and maybe do things that are not good. So when there is no election, it's a very big disadvantage. Is that clear? Is that clear? So we look at other forms of government. We look at other words, forms of government. Look at other forms of government. And number 5, we look at what we call Republic. This form of government has an elected head of state by the people. You understand? Republic form of government has an elected what? Head of state by the people. Is that clear? and he's always elected for a specified time, you understand, in the office. And this person is known as the what? President. You understand? He's the president of the republic. So that's how you have a republic. When there is an election and you have the government, is that clear? Becomes the head of state. What are the features of republic? What are the features of a republican form of government? Number one, head of state known as president is what? Elected. That's how you know that this is a republic. Number two, it must be politically independent. A republic must be politically independent. Republic of South Africa is independent. No other country controls what they do. There is what we call homemade constitution. Constitution is the law of the land, isn't it? There must be homemade constitution. Members of the legislature must be elected by the people. Is that clear? Members of the legislature of a republic must be elected by the people. Republic. Is that clear? Hello, welcome. Today we are going to be learning arms of government. Arms of government. Is that clear? Arms of government. Arms of government. There are three arms of government, namely the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Namely the words legislature, executive, and judiciary. Those are the three arms of government. The legislature, the executive, and the what? Judiciary. Is that clear? Every government, every democratic government must have these three arms of government. Is that clear? The legislature, the executive, and the what? Judiciary. In Nigeria, we are practicing democracy, isn't it? The legislature is made up of the two House of Assembly houses. Number one is the what? Senate. And number two is the what? House of Rep. These two make up the what? The legislative arm of government. Is that clear? When you go to the National Assembly, you see the senators in the upper chamber. You understand? Then you see the House of Rep members in the what? Lower chamber. Is that clear? The two of them make up the what? Legislative arm. The executive arm is made up of the president. Is made up of the what? President. Is made up of the president. Is also made up of the governors. Is also made up of the what? The governors. Is that clear? The president, the governor, the cabinet. In Nigeria, we call them the ministers. We call them the what? Ministers. All these fall under the executive. You understand? And they use other people like the police and the military in enforcing rules, isn't it? The judiciary is made up of the what? The court, the judges, isn't it? The judges in the what? Court. And you know that we have the highest court of the land in Nigeria is the Supreme Court. Do you know? The highest court of the land in Nigeria is the Supreme court. You understand? That have the justices, you have the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the judges, the magistrate court judges, and the rest of them. You understand? So these three arms of government make up the government. These are the three main arms of government: the legislature, the executive, and the what? Judiciary. The executive, which is the number one, is consisting of the president, the governors, and the ministers. You understand? And other people, it's not only the president, the governors, and the ministers. While the legislature is consisting of the what? The Senate and the House of Representative what? Members. The Senate and the what? House of Representative members. The judiciary is consisting of the judges in the courts. The Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, the Magistrate Courts. Is that clear? Now we're going to take them one by one so that we can learn their functions. We're going to take them what? One by one so that we can learn their functions. So number one, we look at the legislature. The legislature. The legislature. This is the organ or arm of government assigned with the function of what? Law making. The legislature is the arm or organ of government assigned with the function of lawmaking. Assigned with the function of what? Lawmaking. And that's why I say that the legislature is made up of the people in the House of Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Rep members, is it not? They are the people that make the law of the land. The judiciary interprets the law that is already made by the legislature. Is that clear? Whereas the executive enforces the law. The executive does what? Enforces the law. So you see the three of them works hand in hand. The legislation makes the law, the judiciary interprets the law, and the executive does what? Enforces the law. Is that clear? So they are assigned with the function of what? Lawmaking. Is that clear? They are given different, the legislature are given different names in different what? Countries. They are given different names in different countries. The legislatures are given different names in different countries. In Nigeria, we call them the House of Assembly people. Is that clear? In Britain, they call them the Parliament. In Britain, they call the legislature the Parliament. In Nigeria, we call them the House of Assembly people. In Britain, they call them the Parliament. In the United States of America, they call them the Congress. They call them the what? Congress. So, in Nigeria, they are called the what? National what? National Assembly. In Britain, the legislature is called the what? Parliament. Parliament. In Britain, they are called the Parliament. In the USA, the legislature are called the what? Congress. You understand? So the legislature are given different names in different countries. In Nigeria, we call them the National Assembly. In Britain, we call them the Parliament. In USA, they call them the Congress. Is that clear? Is that clear? Is that clear? Now, we are going to look at the functions and importance of the legislature. The functions and importance of the legislature. Functions and importance of the legislature. Functions and importance of the legislature. What are the functions and importance of legislature? What are their functions? Number one is law making. Number one is what? Law making. They make the law. Is that correct? Number two is amendment of the constitution. Number two is what? Amendment of the constitution. You understand? The legislature, they make the law, but over the years, when they find out that a specific law in the constitution is not good, they will amend it. It's their duty to amend it too. They also function as House of Representatives. They function as what? House of Representatives. They speak for you. Those people that you elect to go to the legislature to make law, when you have problem in their constituencies, it is their duty to come to the House of Assembly and talk about it. You understand? So that the whole world and the whole nation will know about those problems and the proper solutions to those problems. And they do what? Proper solutions to such problems. Now we're going to learn about the types of legislature. Types of what? Legislature. Types. There are two types of legislature. There are what? Two types of what? Legislature. There are what? Two types of legislature. We have number one, we call it the Unicameral legislature, and number two, we call it the what? Bicameral legislature. Two types of legislature. We have the what? Unicameral legislature and the what? Bicameral legislature. Are we together? Have you finished writing that? So here we have unicameral and what? Bicameral. In unicameral legislature, there is only one house of legislature. There is only one what? House. You understand? Once the bill is passed by that one house, it goes to the president for his assent. Is that clear? But in bicameral, there are two what? Two houses or bodies. You can call them bodies as well. Bodies of what? Legislature. Chop. The first one, the legislature. You understand? When there is only one body, we call it unicameral. Is that clear? Is that clear? When there is only one body. But when there are two houses, we call them what? Bicameral. In Nigeria, what kind of legislature are we practicing in Nigeria? Bicameral. In Nigeria, we practice bicameral because we have the what? We have the Senate and the what? House of Rep. You understand? So the countries that practice the bicameral, we can write Nigeria, isn't it? In USA also, they practice bicameral legislation. You understand? Because they also have the Senate and the House members. Is that clear? Countries that practice unicameral are countries like what? Ghana, Sierra Leone. Is that clear? Ghana and Sierra Leone, Gambia, all of them practice unicameral. All of them practice what? Unicameral. So once they get the bill, Once one of the house passes the bill, it takes the bill straight to the what? President. They take the bill straight to the what? President. Only one house passes the bill, takes it to the president. But in bicameral legislature, the two houses, the Senate and the House of Assembly, must pass the what? Bill before taking it to the what? President. So in unicameral legislature is only one house of assembly, only one house, as they use in Ghana and Sierra Leone. Once the house passes the bill, they take the bill to the what? President for his assent. But in bicameral legislature, we have two houses or two bodies, the upper house and the what? Lower house, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The two of them must pass the bill, you understand, before they can take it to the president for his assent. Is that clear? Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning about the executive. We are going to be learning about the what? Executive, the executive arm of government. We say that there are three major arms of government, three organs of government, and those three are what? The legislature, the executive, and the what? Judiciary. The legislature, the executive, and the what? Judiciary. In the previous class we learned about the legislature, isn't it? Now today we are going to be learning about the executive. The executive is the organ of government responsible for the implementation, execution, or enforcement of laws. You understand? The executive is the organ of the government that is responsible for the implementation, execution, and enforcement of laws, policies, and directives which are given by the legislative arm of the government. Is that clear? So when the laws are made by the legislature, you understand, it is the duty of the executive to make sure that the laws are what? Enforced. To make sure that these laws are what? Implemented. To make sure that these laws are what? Executed. And the main man in the executive is the president, I hope you know, and the governor. So it is their duty to implement the laws. Implement the laws. So we can say that the executive, this is the organ of the government responsible for implementation, execution, and enforcement. Enforce what? Enforcement of the laws, policies, and directives made by the legislative arm of government. So the executive is the organ or the arm of government that is responsible with the implementation, execution, and enforcement of the laws, policies, and directives that are made or given by the what? Legislative arm of government. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now we're going to look at the functions and importance of the executive. What are the functions and importance of the executive arm of government? What are the functions and importance? Number one is that they do what? Execution of the law. That's their number one function. They execute the laws. The executive arm of the government execute the laws. How do they do this? When the legislature says that any human being that kills a fellow human being must die, that's the law they passed in the National House of Assembly, isn't it? How would they enforce it if somebody in the neighborhood goes and kill another person, what will happen? It is the duty of the executive to make sure that that law is enforced by making sure that the police goes and arrests that person, is it not? Maybe make sure that the person faces life imprisonment or firing squad, isn't it? So it's the executive that uses one of his tools like the police or the military to ensure that anything the legislature says in the House of Assembly comes to existence. Is that clear? So it is their duty to ensure those things. If the House of Assembly says that every part of Nigeria should get 20% or so percent from the oil that Nigeria sell abroad, what happens? It's the duty of the executive to get that money and share it, is it not? So the executive executes the law, whereas the House of Assembly or the legislature makes the word law. Is that clear? Number 2 function is giving assent to bills. Giving assent towards bills. Giving assent towards bills. Is that clear? When the legislature in their chambers, like the National Assembly, the Senate or the House of Representatives, when they make a law, or when they make a law, you understand, when they pass a bill, that bill has not become a law until the president does what? Signs it. Until the president does what? Signs it. Until the president gives assent to the bill. The president gives assent to the bill by doing what? By signing it. By signing it into law. By doing what? By signing it into law. So that's another function of the executive. Then another function of the executive is military function. Is the what? Military function. It is the duty of the executive to maintain the armed forces. You understand? So that any country that want to be aggressive to Nigeria, Nigeria can do what? Fight. It is the duty of the executive to give orders, to tell our military, go and fight these people, go and protect our borders, go and protect the local governments that are here in Nigeria. Is that clear? So it is the duty of the executive to ensure that the military are doing their work. To ensure that the military are doing their work. It is also the duty of the executive to ensure law and order by using the police and other apparatus that it has at its disposal. Is that clear? So it is the duty of the military, the executive to perform military functions in the state. Make sure that our army are well equipped to fight terrorism. You understand? To fight any form of aggression that might come our way. It is the duty of the military to ensure. You understand? And you know that the president, who is the number 1 man in the executive council, is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, is it not? So it is his duty to give orders, give our military orders, say go and fight, go and protect, go and make sure that this place is in order. Is that clear? So the executive performs a military function. Functions and importance of executive. Number 1, execution of law. They make sure that the laws that are passed in by the legislature are executed. Number 2, giving assent to bills by signing the bills. Number 3, performing military functions. Number 3, performing military functions. Performing military functions. Is that clear? Thank you. Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning types of executives. Types of what? Executive. What kind of executive do we have in a given government? What kind of? You understand? In Nigeria, you know we are practicing the presidential system of government, is it not? So the type we have in Nigeria is presidential executive. In countries like Britain, where you have the Queen Elizabeth as the head of state, you understand, and the Prime Minister as the head of government, they are having dual executive. Is that clear? So such executive system is known as dual executive or parliamentary executive, or what? Parliamentary executive. Then we have in some states where we have what we call collegiative executive. Collegiative executive, where a group of people rotate the chairmanship. Is that clear? So there are 3 types of executive that we have. There are 3 types of executive that we have. We either have what we call the single executive. Number one is the what? Single. Or you can also call it what? Presidential executive. So this presidential executive, what kind of system is it? It is a system of government where what happens? Where all the executive power is what? Of government is vested on the what? President. Is that clear? On or in? So in single or presidential executive, it is a system of government where all the executive power of government is vested on the what? President. And that's the kind of executive that we have in Nigeria. You understand? Is that clear? Here, the president is what? Is the head of state and what? Head of the government and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Is that clear? So whenever you're practicing a single executive or presidential executive, you have one person who is the president, who is the head of state, the head of government, and as well the commander-in-chief of the what? Armed forces. All the executive power is the person that owns it. You understand? The signing of the bill, giving military the order to go and fight. You understand? Maintaining peace and giving instructions on what happened is in the hand of the what? President. That's one kind of executive. Then the number two type of executive is what we call the what? The dual stroke what? Parliamentary executive. That's the number two type of executive. The dual or the parliamentary executive. The kind of executive that the British people have, isn't it? It is a system where one person is the what? Is the head of state and another person is the head of what? Government. Is that clear? E.g., the monarch or the queen is the queen is the what? Head of state, is it not? Whereas the what? The prime minister is the head of government. You understand? The Queen performs some ceremonial functions in England, isn't it? The Queen of England. Whereas the Prime Minister is actually the head of government, isn't it? So the monarch or the ceremonial president is the head of state. Whereas the head of government is the what? Prime Minister is the what? Prime Minister. That's another type of executive. So we have the single or presidential executive, the dual or parliamentary what? Executive, where we have two people in charge. You understand? The head of state is one person, then the other person is the what? Head of government. The other person is the what? Head of government. Then number three and the last type of executive. Number three and the last type of executive is what we call collegiates. It's what we call what? Collegiate what? Executive. collegiate executive. What kind of executive is collegiate executive? This is a system in which a number of people forms a council which rotates the what? The chairmanship of the council and leadership of the government in turns among the what? Members. Collegiate is a system where the collegiate is what? A system where a number of people form a what? Council. Form a council. Number of people form a council which rotates its chairmanship or leadership amongst the members of the council. You understand? So this kind of arrangement is more than one person that has the executive power. It's more than one and it's more than two. You understand? You have what we call council. The whole council make decision, but they rotate the chairmanship from one point to the other. You understand? So they deliberate within themselves, take decisions. It's unlike presidential executive system or parliamentary system that has two leaders. Is that clear? Thank you. Yes, today we are going to be learning about the third arm of government. The what? The third arm of government, known as the what? Judiciary. Known as the what? Judiciary. The third arm of government, known as the what? Judiciary. In the previous classes, we learned that there are three arms of government, isn't it? The legislature, the executive, and the what? Judiciary. We say that the legislature makes the law, isn't it? Then the executive implements the what? Law. The executive ensures the enforcement of the law. Now the judiciary, which is the third organ of government, is responsible for what? Interpretation and application of the law whenever it is what? Violated or broken. Is that clear? If I go and engage your services, you understand? And I tell you that once you come to my class and teach, that I'll pay you 1,000 naira. Is that clear? And the law says that when you engage in somebody's services and promise to pay so and so amount, that you must pay it. If you don't pay it, you will go to jail or you pay a fine of 10,000 naira. Then after engaging your services, you come here, you lecture. Then you come to me to ask for the money for the services that you render, and I say no, that I will not pay. Whose responsibility it is to say that, to come here out and say, Austin, you've broken the law and you must pay fine of 10,000 or go to jail? Do you know the person that can look at the law and say, this is what the law say about engaging somebody's services? It is the duty of the word judiciary. Is that clear? So if I break the terms of agreement between me and you, you will go sue me to court. You understand? Then when we come to court, the people in the court there will open the book of law. They will say, by so and so right up, by so and so act. You understand? Section so and so in the constitution, in the law of the land, or in the act governing this area, that I have done the wrong thing. This is the duty of the judiciary to actually look at the case and find out that I'm the person at fault. You understand? Or the judiciary might ask, is it actually true that this man came to class and teach, or he did not come, he just came to ask you for money? Is that clear? It is the duty of the judiciary to do what? Interpret the law and say this is what the law says in this case. So because of that, hey Mr. Austin, go and pay this 10,000. Hey Mr. Austin, go and do this one. Is that clear? So the judiciary does what? They interpret this law, the law that has already been written and made by the what? Legislature. and signed into law by the what? Executive. It is the duty of the judiciary to look at this law and do what? Interpret and apply it when they are what? Broken or violated. Is that clear? So judiciary is the third arm or third organ of the world government responsible for interpretation and application of laws when they are broken or violated. Is that clear? Also, the judiciary adjudicates disputes. They settle disputes. That's one of their most important functions too, between the government and the legislature. When the executive and the legislature they are having problems, it's the duty of the judiciary. They say, hey, the executive, your power is not up to this level. You understand? It is the duty of the legislature to do this and this, and it is your own duty to do so and so. It is the judiciary that interprets this law and tells the executive where their power ends and where that of the legislature starts. It is also the duty of the legislature to adjudicate between government and the citizens. Government and the world citizens. You see in Nigeria, several times you see the labor union, they go to strike, isn't it? The judiciary will tell them that it is lawful for you to do this if the government has not met his own bargain. Is that clear? Or it is unlawful because the government is doing what is supposed to be done. It is the duty of the judiciary to explain all these things. And also solve problems or adjudicate dispute that is between organizations or between citizens. If me and you have problem, we'll go to court, we'll trash it out, isn't it? It is the duty of them and the judiciary to tell us who and who is at fault. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now we look at what now? Functions and importance of what? Judiciary. Functions and importance of the judiciary. What are the functions and importance of the judiciary? What functions do they perform? Number one, as we all know, is the what? Interpretation of the law. That's the number one function of this judiciary, to interpret the law, to tell us this is actually what the law says and this is how it should apply. Is that clear? That's their number one function. Then number two function is punishment of law breakers. Punishment of what? Law breakers. Anybody that breaks the law. It is the duty of the judge to say, I'm sentencing you to 6 months imprisonment. Is it not? You punish the law breakers. Anybody that you say that the person committed an offense is still a suspect. Is it not? Until the law says otherwise. Until the law says that he actually committed the offense. And when the law court says that it is their duty to state the punishment, you understand? I can say we are giving you 1 year imprisonment, 6 months, 2 months, or you can pay a fine of so amount, isn't it? It is the duty of the judiciary to say that. Number three is what we call guardian of the Constitution. Guardian. The judiciary is the guardian of the world constitution. You understand? They've read so much about the law of the land, so they protect it. Is it not? The executive might say, these people committed corruption, let's send them to Kirikiri prison. And you've not actually been able to find out and indict those people because you are the executive, you want to do otherwise. You understand? It is the duty of the judiciary to say, this is what the law says, and this is how these people are going to be treated. You understand? Because nobody is above the word law. Nobody is above the word law. So the judiciary protects the word constitution of the land to avoid those people that are highly placed. You understand? Violating the law. So they make sure that everybody is equal before the rule of law, and everybody must obey the law. Is that clear? Number four is determination of election petitions. Determination of election petitions. That's one of the functions of the judiciary, isn't it? After the election, one party, APC, say, hey, this is a lie. PDP did not have the majority vote. They say, how, why are you saying this? There were too many malpractices during the election. But I come and prove it. Both of us will go to court, is it not? The APC, the PDP, and the NI, all of them will go to court to prove. You understand? So once there is a petition, it is the duty of the law court or the judiciary to decide who and who is right. You understand? If you go to the normal court, the high court, and they are not able to do the work, you appeal, isn't it? You appeal court. But when the Supreme Court gives the final verdict, that's the final answer, is it not? Is it not? Go. So he has to go from one place to the other. Then the last for today is protection of the citizens' rights and liberties. You understand? Protection of the citizens' rights and liberties. If there is no judiciary, the executive, they might just be doing anything they like, is it not? But the judiciary is always there to tell them, say, sir, that thing you are doing is wrong. If these people want to go to strike because you promised them something and you did not do it, they should be able to go to strike. Is that clear? The judiciary will always stand up to the government and tell them that, yes, this person has the right to do this. Don't trample upon his rights. Don't, because you're the executive, do anything you want. It is not done like that. It is the duty of the judiciary to do what? Protect the rights and liberties of the what? Citizens. Of the what? Citizens. That's very, very important. Thank you. Yes. Are you paying attention? Good. Today we are going to be learning about political ideologies. Political ideology simply means people's understanding or belief about how their politics should be run, about how they can be governed, about the system of government that should be run. Blossom, is that clear? So there are different political ideologies in different countries. You know, some people, like when you go to the Middle East, most of them are still being governed by the kings, the Emirates, you understand? Maybe due to the Islamic culture that they have there. When you go to the Western world, they are having what we call democracy, you understand? In previous time, before democracy, there used to be other ideologies or systems like fascism, communism, capitalism, feudalism, socialism. Some of them are still in play. If you go to China, you understand, they're having a sort of a communism system. You have the China Communist Party being the people that are managing the affairs there. Go to Cuba, you understand, different economic structures, political structures. So now we talk about fascism, which was practiced in Italy then, which is a philosophy or principle or organization of aggressive nationalistic and anti-communist dictatorship. Here they believe that if you're not a national, nothing for you. You understand? In the olden times, when this guy was still the president of Germany, you understand? When we have Adolf Hitler, you understand? If you're not a German, nothing for you, you suffer. They were even killing the Jews then. So some of those ideologies were preceded by what? Fascism. Aggressive nationalistic. They are very, very aggressive in terms of their nationals. You have to be a national of that country for you to have anything for you to be the president or own any important people. Then we have what we call communism, which is a economic political. This communism combines politics with what? Economy, whereby all the means of production and distribution, the main economy of the state, is being handled by the what? Country, by the government. You understand? You notice in Nigeria, we are practicing now, we are trying to bring in what we call privatization. They are trying to take out all those things that are being managed by government. They want to give it to private sector. You understand? Which is exactly what we see when you go to places that are run by what? Capitalism. Because capitalism is an economic and political system in which the means of production and distribution, that is the economy of the state, is controlled by the what? Individuals. And that is what they have in places like America, United States of America. You understand? Individuals and private companies, they are the people that are managing the economy. And in such a way, the economy moves faster. It's better than communism. Is that clear? Then there is another ideology known as feudalism. This feudalism is when we have the people doing the government to be with the people that own the most land. You understand? It is very olden and primitive. That's why we say feudalism is a primitive system of government based on the what? Ownership of land. If you own more land, then your political hierarchy is high than others because of the amount of land that you have. Is that clear? So these are some political ideology: fascism, communism, capitalism, feudalism. Is that clear? So we are going to look at more political ideologies. What are the other ideologies?
Socialism and communism.
Socialism and what? Communalism. You understand? Socialism and communalism. Socialism may be defined as the political economic system in which all or large part of the means of production are collectively owned and collectively controlled. You understand? Every of the state apparatus is what? Collectively owned and what? Controlled. You understand? That's the sort of thing that is done in Cuba. You don't own any business by yourself. You come and work for government. When government harvests the product, it will share to the people. You understand? Everything is being run by government. You find out that such thing is not good. People will get lazy. Nobody will want to really make extra effort. Then communalism refers to a system of collective ownership of property and cooperation among members of the community in the execution and development of projects. In a communal community, members pursue common and collective what? Goal. Members pursue common and what? Here we're talking about, the emphasis here is on what? Community. It's on what? Community. Everybody come together and do stuffs together. Yes, welcome. We are going to be learning about constitution. We are going to be learning about what? Constitution. Constitution. What is constitution? In Nigeria, we have the constitution, isn't it? Constitution is the laws that govern a country, that govern an organization. If you belong to a society or an organization, they normally have a constitution, isn't it? Yes. That constitution is a document that spells out the rules and regulations, the laws, what every member of the organization must do. Once you do anything that is against or contrary to that constitution, you can be sued to court, you can be charged, you can be thrown out of the society, isn't it? So that's what the constitution is. It serves as a check. If there is no constitution in Nigeria, somebody will come and kill you and nothing will happen. You understand? But the constitution says that you cannot murder somebody, isn't it? So constitution is laid down rules, regulation, and in a total form, we can say that the constitution is a whole body of fundamental laws, customs, convention, principles, rules and regulations, according to which a particular government or organization does what? Operate. So every member of every citizen of the country must operate under the wordings of the word constitution. Is that clear? There are different types of constitution, which will, as a matter of interest, we look at like these four types: written constitution, unwritten constitution, rigid and what? Flexible constitution. What is a written constitution? A type of constitution that is documented or written down in a document is called a what? Written constitution. That's the kind of constitution we have in Nigeria. We have a book where all those laws are. So when you go to court, you will see somebody quote the constitution or the book of law. You understand? That is written. But when you don't have all the laws documented in one single document, we call it what? Unwritten what? Constitution. That's another form of constitution. Then when you can be able to amend a constitution easily, if you can amend a constitution easily, you call it a flexible what? constitution. But when you cannot amend it easily, due to the cumbersome procedure involved in amendment, we call it a what? Rigid what? Constitution. Is that clear? Is that clear? So these are the different types of constitution. The written one that you have in one single document. The unwritten, you don't have it in one single document. The rigid, you cannot amend easily. And the flexible, the one that you can do what? Amend what? Easily. The one that you can do what? Amend easily. So we'll stop there for today. Then we'll continue later. Yes, welcome, look up. Forget about whatever you're writing and look up to the board. Look up to the board. Today we are going to be learning about the principles of democratic what? Government. When you say that this system of government here is democratic, what are some of the principles? What are some of the things that you see when you see that you say these people are truly practicing democracy? You know that the democracy in Nigeria is not the same as the one in USA. You understand? It's similar. But in Nigeria, rule of law, we don't allow the rule of law to happen fully the way it should. You understand? You see that the DSS, they arrested one man. You know the man that is arrested, been in DSS net for a very long time. Sambo Dasuki, former NSC. Yeah. The court has said that this man is granted bail. But the government of Nigeria have not left the man. The man is still in prison. Why? Does it mean that the DSS and some aspect of the government are above the law? You understand? The rule of law states that there is absolute supremacy or predominance of the law over what? Everybody. Over what? Everybody. So if the law says this, that's what is done. You understand? If you go to America and the court says this, everybody is expected to obey what the court says. Is it not? That is normal. Because it is the duty of the judiciary to interpret the law and say some certain things at some certain time. But you see that Nigeria is not actually practicing full democracy. That's why we say nascent democracy. Our democracy is still growing. Yeah, but what?
But you know, the problem of the Nigerian government we are having corrupt. Maybe judiciary, maybe the Sugi can feel bribe them.
Yes.
So that they will grant him to do.
You see?
Like the United States of America.
That's what is happening. You understand? Yeah. There are many things that are structuring, affecting our democracy, that is making it not to be the way it should. You understand? So when you talk about the principles of democracy, these are the principles. Number one, there is what we call collective what? Responsibility. The cabinet is made up of the president and the ministers, is it not? When they take a decision, it is collective. You understand? They bear the responsibility of what comes out of the decision that they have taken. If they decide that we don't want to import rice again, they stop importing rice. Is that clear? If the stopping of importation of rice, if it affects the country well, you say, yeah, this government is trying. You understand? But if you stop the importation of rice and the prices of food go up and people are suffering, it is also their responsibility to what? Accept that they have done wrong. Is that clear? Collective responsibility. Then you have what we call individual what? Responsibility. Which means that if you're a minister and you're heading a particular ministry, like Babatunde Fashola, which ministry is he heading? Three ministries under one, but power and housing and works, is it not? So if there is no light, people are complaining. It's his responsibility to make sure that the infrastructures and the right decisions are taken for there to be light in the nation, is it not? So that is his responsibility of his ministry. Individual what? Responsibility. So collective responsibility is used in the parliamentary system of government. As used in parliamentary system of government means that all members of the cabinet are collectively what? Accountable for their decision. But when you talk about individual responsibility, you say that ministers are singularly what? Responsible for all the decisions and action taken in their particular what? Ministry. Is that clear? So there should be accountability whenever you're talking about democratic governance. Is that clear? You have to be accountable to the people that have voted you in. Is it not? Then you have what we call rule of law. Rule of law simply means that there is absolute supremacy or predominance of law over what? Everybody. Both the rulers and the what? Ruled. Is that clear? The law is governing, the law of the land is governing everybody. There's no section of the government that should, if the law says that this is what should happen, this person says they are above the law. The DSS is not above the law. The Senate is not above the law. The police is not above the law. The EFCC is not above the law. The president is not above the law. The people are not above the law. Is that clear? The rule of law, the principle of the rule of law say that the law was predominance and supremacy over everybody in the land. You understand? What applies to A should also apply to what? B. So those are the what? Principles of what? Democratic what? Governance. Principles of what? Democratic governance. The main principle and feature of rule of law are equality before the law. Are what? Equality before the law. Features of rule of law. How do you know that? How do you know that rule of law is being obeyed? Number one is what we call equality of what? Equality before the law. Equality before the law. You know what that means? All men are equal before the laws of the land. This means that no one is above the law, and the law is no respecter of what? Person. If a DSS man kills somebody, it was the crime. Murder, is it not? If I kill somebody, what's the crime? It's the same crime. It doesn't apply differently. Everybody is equal to the law. Equality before the law. Then number two aspect of rule of law is impartiality. Number two aspect is what? Impartiality. If I commit murder and you sentence me to a life imprisonment, if a pastor commits murder, what is the sentence? Life imprisonment. Is it not? If the governor commits murder, what's the life imprisonment? There should be what? Impartiality. Everybody gets equal treatment. Then number three, the rights of the individual. Number three is what? Rights of the individual. Rights of the individual. Everybody has rights. This principle states that the citizens of the country should enjoy certain basic inalienable rights and liberties under the law, violation of which they have the right to seek redress in the law. So this one could also be said to be human rights. Is it not? Right to free speech. Should be able to talk. Is it not? Right to assembly. Should be able to gather together and discuss. Isn't it? So when there is rule of law, you find out that there is equality before the law, there is impartiality, and there is right of the what? Individual or human right. So those are the three things that you use in knowing whether there is what? Rule of law. Whether there is what? Rule of law. Hello, welcome. Today we are going to be looking at legislative enactments. Are you looking at this word enactment? Enactment, it simply means laws or rules. So the laws of the land is supposed to be made by the which arm of the government? Legislative arm of the legislature. They are responsible for making the laws, is it not? But there are some laws that they are not the people that make. There are some laws that other bodies, they will say body that are in charge of all the pharmacies, you understand? In Nigeria, they make small laws, you understand? Doctors, every different fields, they have their small rules and regulations, is it not? So those other laws, good. Such acts and laws that are not made by the legislature themselves are known as what? Legislative what? Enactments. So they call it delegated what? Legislation. delegated. Something that would have been my work, I would delegate you. Like the president would delegate the vice president to go and represent him in an occasion. You understand? Delegate. So that same way, the legislature can delegate its function of making law to other bodies. Is that clear? So the laws that are made by all those other bodies are known as what? Legislative what? Enactments, or delegated what? Legislation. So these are laws, rules and regulations made by other bodies or persons other than the legislature, but sanctioned by the what? Legislature. That means that legislature actually recognizes those bodies that make such rules and regulations. In such way, such rules and regulations are binding for the people that are under the auspices of those regulations. Is that clear? So such is known as what? Legislative what? Enactment. Is that clear? Please, let's look up. Today we are going to be looking at citizenship. We are going to be looking at what? Citizenship. Citizenship. What is citizenship? Citizenship is a process, or a citizen. Who is a citizen? A citizen is a person who is a legal member of and owes allegiance to a particular what? Country he resides in, which he enjoys full civil and political rights and will be ready to defend the country if duty calls. Is that clear? I'm a citizen of Nigeria, is it not? And all of us here are citizens of Nigeria. Because we are legal members of this country. Either because we were born here, is it not? Or because we naturalized here. There are some people that are in this country but they are not citizens. Foreigners that visit. You understand? Because for you to be a citizen, you have to be what? Owe allegiance to this country. And you have to be ready to defend this country if duty calls. Ghanaians, they are not citizens of Nigeria. They can come and go. You cannot tell them that Nigeria is fighting war. They will come and start fighting for you. You understand? So we are citizens, but we owe allegiance to our country. We defend our country. Is that clear? There are situations whereby one person will be a citizen of Nigeria and of UK. I hope you know.
Yeah, that is
dual citizenship.
Maybe his father from Nigeria is not.
Or maybe he was born in the UK, but he knows that the parents are from Nigeria. Because there's what we call citizenship by birth. Anywhere that they give birth to you, you're a citizen of that country. I hope you know. They call it citizen by birth. But let's say your parents are from Nigeria, you know that you're also a Nigerian. So we call it dual citizenship. You can have two passports. So you can be represented as a citizen of Nigeria and at the same time as that of UK or United States of America. That is what dual citizenship. So a citizen is a person who is a what? Legal member of and owes allegiance to a particular what? Country he resides, in which he enjoys full civil and political rights and will be ready to defend his territory when he is called upon. Is that clear? Dual citizenship is a situation where a person holds citizenship of two countries at the same time. Two countries at the same what? Time. That is what we call what? Dual citizenship. Dual citizenship. Now we have what we call types of citizenship. Types of what? Citizenship. How can you become a citizen of a country? We have what we call citizenship by birth. Number one is what? Citizenship by what? Birth. So this citizenship by birth will be by place of birth. If you are born in Nigeria, you are a citizen of Nigeria, or descent. A person citizenship is hereby determined by his or father's citizenship. Is that clear? So under citizenship by birth, it could be because of your what? Place of what? Birth. If you are born in Nigeria, you are a citizen of Nigeria. If you are born in Ghana, you are a citizen of Ghana. Or it can also be by what we call by what? Descent. By descent. If your father was born in Nigeria or is a Nigerian, then automatically you're a Nigerian. That's citizenship by descent. Then number 2 is what we call citizenship. Citizenship by what? By what? Naturalization. By naturalization. Citizenship by naturalization. When you naturalize or you apply, we call it citizenship by naturalization or citizenship by what? Application. Naturalization or what? Application. When you apply to become a citizen of a particular country, after staying for say a period of time, you understand, say 15 years, you become a citizen. Then we also have citizenship by registration or marriage. You also have citizenship by what? Registration or what? Marriage. If you go and marry an American, you understand, there is this kind of citizenship that you get. That's why you see Nigerians, when they go to Germany, they quickly marry a white woman. Then we have what we call honorary citizenship. We have what? Honorary citizenship. Citizenship. Honorary. Do you know how this one comes about? This is when citizenship of the country is granted to a distinguished element, foreigner, without the usual requirements. You understand? Somebody that is very, you can look at somebody like Beyonce, because of how big she is, you say you can just give her citizenship. You understand? Or a very big writer or somebody that is important. Then we have citizenship by conquest. Citizenship by what? Conquest. That's the other type of citizenship. Through conquest, after secessional struggle, citizenship of certain individuals may be changed by acquiring what? A new status. When you go and conquer some places, you can take in their citizenship. So citizenship could be by what? Birth, by naturalization or application, by registration or marriage, or by what? Honorary citizenship, or by conquest. So those are the types of citizenship that you can have. Welcome. So today we are going to be looking at citizenship rights. We are going to be looking at what? Citizenship rights. What are the rights that you enjoy? What are the privileges that you enjoy for being a citizen of Nigeria? What are the things that you can do in Nigeria that Ghanaian cannot do, or somebody that is not in Nigeria? What are those things, benefits for being a citizen? Number 1 is right to life. Number 1 is what? Right to life. Though every citizen of the world has the right to life, even if you're a Ghanaian and you're in Nigeria, you have right to life. I hope you know. It's natural right. You understand? But among the rights of citizenship, you have right to life. To life, you can live here. Right to freedom from torture, inhuman and degrading punishment. You have another right. Right to what? Freedom from what? Torture. Somebody cannot torture you. Police should not arrest and torture you, or any inhumane treatment. You understand? Right to freedom from the privation of personal liberty. Right to freedom from what? Deprivation. The privation of what? Personal liberty. You should have personal liberty. Number 4, right to dignity of human person. Right to what? Right to dignity of human person. You should have right to dignity to human person. Number 5, we have right to fair and equal hearing. Right to what? Fair and what? Equal hearing. Then we have what? Right to private and family life. You should have right to your what? private, and what? Family life. All these are rights of citizens. There should also right to freedom of movement. Right to what? Freedom of movement. You should move freely to any part of the country. There should also be what? Right to holding political opinion and what? Association. Right to what? Political what? Opinion and association. You should have right to political opinion and association. There should also be right to peaceful assembly and association. As a citizen, you should have right to what? Right to peaceful assembly and association. So there should be right to freedom of expression and what? Press. The press should be allowed to write articles or write news on what is happening in the country. There should also be what? Right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. You should have the right to what? Be a Muslim if you want, or be a Christian if you want. Is that clear? That's part of your right. Then also there is right to freedom from discrimination on the grounds of what? Sex, race, or tribe. What a Yoruba man can be in the country, an Hausa man can also what? Be. And a Doma can also be. Is that clear? What a woman can be in the country, a man can be. Is it not? Women should be able to aspire to become what? President. There should be no discrimination based on the ground of what? Sex. Is that clear? That's part of your right. It's good you know this right of a citizen. A girl child is entitled to go for education. You understand? So that you can be trained and be prepared to become the president of the nation. So we have that right. Is that clear? You have the right to freedom of what? Discrimination on the grounds of sex, tribe, or your ethnic group. You understand? What an Hausa man can be, an Igbo man can be. Is that clear? Everybody should be equal. Then we'll talk about what other rights can he have. Freedom of movement. You understand? You should be able to move around the country. Is that clear? Good. So those are the citizens' rights. Now, if you have the rights to do all these things, there should also be duties and obligations of a what? Of a citizen. Duties and obligations of citizens. What are the things that you should do for your country? Number one, there is what we call loyalty. There is what we call what? Loyalty. You have to be loyal to your country. You have to be law abiding. You have to be a what? Law abiding citizen. If the law says that you should not kill and you go and kill, you're on your own. Is that clear? Payment of taxes. You have to do what? You have to pay tax as a citizen. Payment of what? Taxes. If you're operating, you should be paying tax. Defense of the country. What? Defense of the country. How do you defend the country? Good. You have to defend your country in any way, by exposing wrong people, by joining the army and defending if you are a member of the army. Is it not? Yeah. Service to the nation. Service to the nation. Service to the nation. You have to serve your nation in one way or the other. Is it not? You can be working as a civil servant. You can be teaching like I'm doing. You have to be doing something. Civic responsibility. Who can tell me what is civic responsibility? Voting back. You perform your civic responsibility of what? Voting. Doing taking part in census. If country is conducting census, you have to be counted, is it not? Assisting the law enforcement agents. Doing what? Assisting the law. Who are the law enforcement agents? The police. They are the law enforcement agents. You have to assist them with information when they need it, is it not? Care of public property. You have to take care of public property. You give me an example of public property. Transformer. You don't need to leave it and people will come and be vandalizing it. Respect for national flag. As a citizen, you have to respect the national flag. Is that clear? You have to have respect for the national flag. Another obligation is what? Respect for national anthem. Whenever the anthem is going, you have to respect the national anthem, you see. Honesty, you have to be honest. Offer constructive criticism. You know what they call constructive criticism? You're criticizing the government when the government have not done anything wrong. That is not constructive. But if the government does something wrong, you say they have done something wrong. You understand? You bring those things out and you say reasons why you say that those things are wrong. Constructive criticism. Respect for the head of state. You have to respect the president of the country. And avoidance of destructive acts. You don't need to do things that are bad. So those are the duties and obligations of a citizen. As a citizen, you have to be loyal to the country, you have to be law abiding, you have to obey the laws of the land, you have to pay your taxes, you have to defend the country in any way you can, you have to serve it, you have to show service to the nation, you have to perform your civic responsibility, you have to assist the law enforcement agencies. Is that clear? You have to obey the laws of the land, you have to be honest, you have to offer constructive criticism, you have to respect the head of state, and you have to avoid any form of destructive acts. Is that clear? Yes. Yes, welcome. Pay attention to the board. Today we are going to be looking at the electoral process. The electoral process. The topic for today is what? The electoral process. In every democratic country or state, there is always an election. There is always what? Election in every democratic country or state. If Nigeria is running a dictatorship, there will be no election. You know how dictators, how they take over, or how military people take over? Through coup, is it not? If you are having monarchy, people that are having monarchy, do they do elections? No. Monarchy is by birth, your child, you understand? Like Queen Elizabeth, when she died, would they do election to bring the next queen? It's purely by inheritance. But every country that is having democracy normally have election after some time. Is that not true? Now, the process by which this election is done is what we call what? Electoral what? Process. Now, we are going to look at some terms that are very, very important for you to understand the electoral process very well. Is that clear? There are some terms that you must know their definition. Number one is franchise. Number one is what? Franchise. What is franchise? Franchise is your right. Franchise is my right to do what? To go and vote and be voted for in case if you want to contest for the election. Is that clear? You can vote for your local government chairman. You can also stand in as somebody that is contesting for local government chairman so that other people will do what? Vote for you. That is franchise. Is that clear? So we say that franchise is the rights of qualified adult citizens of a given society to vote and be voted for. To vote and be voted. It's not only the right to vote, but also the right to be what? Voted for. Qualified. What do you understand by this word? Qualified adult citizen. It's not everybody, you understand? Some minors, all those little children, you see, when they are complaining about electoral fraud, they say in some certain states in Nigeria, when you go there, you see small pikin they vote. Is it right? You have an age limit for voting, is it not? So you have to be what? Qualified. Number two is election. What do you understand by that word, election? Election is an act of choosing or selecting candidates who will represent the people of the country in either the parliament or other positions of what? Government. Is that not clear? The act of what? Choosing. During the election, that's what you do. You choose between President Muhammad Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan. You understand? You look at the two of them, you say, I think this person will fight corruption more. I think this person will be more transparent. And this person will be more humble to listen to people and do things. I think this person, you understand? You look at them and choose among them. They might be up to 10. Is that not so? There might be Atiku there. There might be Ojos Okalo. There might be Richard Okorocha. You understand? Plenty people. Then you now choose. So when you are choosing by voting, you are doing what we call what? Election. Is that clear? Now, electoral system. You understand? For there to be an election, there has to be a system, existing system. Is that clear? There has to be an existing system. I would say that an electoral system is the process and procedure. You understand? First of all, the party has to go and be registered, is it not? Then you, that want to contest, you have to register under one party.
Yeah.
Or will you just come out and say, I'm contesting an election?
No.
Does it happen that way? There has to be a procedure. First of all, go and be a member of the party, you understand? Make sure you have the full registration and legitimate registration. Conduct the primaries, is it not? After the primary, the person that emerges goes on to contest between against the other party. Is that not the way it is done? So that is what we call electoral system. The electoral system is the process and what? Procedure by which citizens of the democratic of a democratic society, select through either direct voting or what? Indirectly, those who will represent them in the what? Parliament. You understand? That process and procedure, that's what we call what? Electoral system. Is that clear? The process and procedure is what we call electoral system. Then now we look at an electoral commission. Right along as I write, so that I will explain later. So what is an electoral commission? Who can tell me the electoral commission we have in Nigeria? INEC, thank you. INEC is the electoral commission we have in Nigeria. Electoral commission is the body charged with the responsibility for organizing and conducting free and fair elections in the country. Electoral commission is the body charged with what is their duty? The body charged with what? The responsibility of, what is their responsibility? With the responsibility of conducting free and fair. It has to be free and it has to be fair. Free and fair and credible as well. Elections in a country. That's what happens. You understand? I will say that the example is what? E.g. is what? INEC in Nigeria. So in Nigeria we have the INEC. The INEC is the electoral commission. The INEC is the what? Electoral commission in Nigeria. Very important. Is that clear? So these are the various terms in electoral process and the various components that come up to make up the electoral process. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yeah.
So we can move deeper now. Yes, leave whatever you're writing and look up. We're going to be looking at party systems. We are going to be looking at what? Party systems. Party system. What is party systems? If you come to a country like Nigeria, for a government to be formed, there has to be some political parties that will contest. Then the party that wins forms the government. Is that clear?
Yeah.
So any kind of country, or any kind of system that runs in a country, whereby there are political parties that contest in order to form the government, is known as what? Party system. Is that clear? Such systems are known as what? Party systems. Like in Nigeria, which are the political parties that are contesting? PDP, APC, APGA, you understand, and other parties. So when they contest, which party won during the contest to form the government? APC won. Because APC won, that's why APC is the ruling. They are the people that form the government. Is that clear? So any system like that is known as what? A party system. It must be party that form the government. Is that clear? In dictatorship, is it the party that forms government? No, it's one military man that does coup. You understand? In monarchy, is it party that form? No. So party system is always found in democracies, you know. So we say that party system is a type of governmental political arrangement. It's an arrangement, you understand? In which political parties are permitted to do what? Operate for the purpose of what? Forming a what? Government on a political party what? Basis. Is that clear? So it's a political arrangement that allows political parties to operate in order for them to form the government. Is that clear? Now we have types of party system. In Nigeria, in the USA, we have what we call two-party system. And those two parties are what and what? The Republicans and the what? Democrats. You understand? A two-party system. Two parties operate. Is that clear? That is a two-party system. In Nigeria, what kind of party system do we have? We have what we call multi-party system. So the types of party systems we have is what we call, number one, a zero-party system. Number two, one-party system. Number three, two-party system. Number four, multi-party system. Nigeria has how many parties? We have APGA, we have AD, we have AC, we have PDP, we have NMP. You understand? Plenty party. So we are, yes, we are operating a multi-party system. You understand? The systems that have only two parties are operating two-party system. The one having only one party is operating what? One-party system. Is that clear? Very importantly, there is what we call a zero-party system. And what is it? You need to know this. This is where elections are conducted and contested based on personal attributes, capabilities, and programs presented by the what? Individual. That individual doesn't have to belong to any political party. Is that clear? So if such happens, we know we are having what we call a zero-party system.
We continue our practice this.
I don't think this is not a famous system now. You understand? Most countries are always practicing two-party system, multi-party. In China, we have what we call one-party system. You understand? China has one-party system, but this is not much. You understand? In America, America is practicing a two-party system, but you can come as an independent candidate. Is that clear? You can come as an independent candidate in a two-party system. That's the kind of thing they are doing. You understand? But having a country that doesn't even have a party, but have people come on individual basis, like in zero party, is not something that is common. Is that clear? So get down the notes. Yes, welcome. We're going to be looking at political parties. We are going to be looking at what? Political parties. Previously, we talked about the electoral process, is it not? I would say that the things that constitute the electoral process, that whenever we want to start discussing the electoral process, that number one, we must talk about franchise, is it not? Franchise. I would say that franchise is your what? Right to what? Vote and also be voted for. Isn't it? I would say that election is during the election that you do the voting, is it not? Yeah. Election is the process of choosing, is it not? Yeah. You choose the right person. Then we say that Electoral Commission is the body vested with the what? Duties of discharging or conducting a what? Free and fair what? Election. Is that not what we said? Now we say that for this election to happen, there has to be an electoral what? System. There has to be an electoral system which includes the procedure and the guidelines through which an election what happens. Is that not what we said? Now, in these guidelines and procedure, you need to have political parties that contest between one another. Is that not? So what are these political parties? We say that political party may be defined as an organized group of people who share similar political opinions, principles, interests, and what? Beliefs, with the aim of gaining political power and governing a what? Country. Who can give me an example of a political party? APC, PDP. Those are political parties in Nigeria, is it not? Now, APC is the party that is in power. So what is APC? What are they? What kind of party is it? APC are simply organized group of what? People. You understand? Made up of people like Atiku, Obasanjo, no, not Obasanjo, Atiku, Tinubu, Oyegun, Fashola. You understand? They are organized group of what? People who share similar political opinion. All of them share similar political opinion. They believe that 5,000 should be given to less privileged people, poor people that are unemployed, is it not? They believe that Nigeria should be transformed. You understand? So all of them that are members of this political party, they share similar what? Political opinion, principle, interest. They want to maintain their interest and belief. With the aim, what is the aim of their coming together to form APC? What is the aim? With the aim of what? Gaining political power and governing the country. Did they achieve that aim?
Yeah.
They achieved it. That's why they are governing the country now. Yeah. You see that? So every political party that forms want to do what? Gain political power and govern the country. Even after they want to govern the country, PDP want to govern. PDP have been governing before, but through our electoral process, we voted them out. Is that not? Nigeria voted them out. Now Nigeria voted in what? APC. Next election, Nigeria might want to still vote out APC and vote in another government. Is that not? That's why we have an electoral process, to be able to choose. Now, what are the functions of political parties? What functions do they perform? Number one, political party help us to select and appoint leaders and personnel for government. If there is no political party, how can we vote in? Can we vote in Buhari? So there is because of the party system. That's why Buhari was able to be voted in. Before the election, there are more powerful people than Buhari in the country. People like Tinubu, all of them are very powerful, both in terms of finance and in terms of everything. You understand? But because there has to be political party, they help us to vote in our leaders. Even they might not vote in the most powerful person, but we vote in the person that we want to be our leader. Is that clear? Number two, they help to educate the electorate through political rallies and campaign. When they are doing their campaign, they will be telling you things that you don't even know. They will tell you, see this past government, they stole our 40 billion. You say, hey, this past government, they wrecked our schools and our schools are not functioning. It's because of them that people are not graduating very well. You say, hey, I did not know. They give you information so as to convince you. You understand? So they do what? Educate the electorate through their campaigns and rallies. Then, number three is that they help stimulate and arouse the electorate. Electorate simply means the person that is voting. Yeah. The electorate's interest in performing their civic responsibility. What is the civic responsibility of an electorate? To vote. You must vote. Yeah. Understand? You're supposed to vote every year of voting. That's the thing you have. It's your responsibility as a citizen to do what? Go and vote. Now, if you like APC will make you to go and vote, is it not? Yeah. Because you want them to win. But if you are not interested in party, they might be talking about voting, say, no, let me be playing video game. You'll be in your house. You'll be playing video game, you'll be doing other things. You understand? But the electoral parties, they will come and ginger you, go and vote, so that our party will win. So they help to stimulate and arouse the what? Interest of the electorate in performing their what? Civic responsibility. Then fourthly, they serve as the bridge between the people's interest and the what? Government. If a party comes to you during the campaign, they will learn what the people want. Is that clear? Yeah. And they will not talk about it. They will say, this is what we will do. Do you see how that happens? They will come to you, they want to impress you. So they already know that this is what you people want. You people need a bridge that connects from Isoko to this one other town. They want you to they know that you need it. So when they now come, they say, in our first 100 days of office, we will do it. So that is your need. They've connected it to the government. So if it is a faithful government, what will they do when they win? They will do what? They will redeem their promises, you know. So electoral parties help in doing such. Then they also connect as information passage between the government and the what? Government. Is that clear? So those are the functions of political party. And with that, we come to the end of. Yes. Please let's pay attention. We've looked at political parties. Isn't it? Political parties, they contest during elections. They do what? Contest during elections. But there are other groups, and these other groups are known as what? Pressure groups. They are known as what? Pressure groups. Pressure groups. Students, when they want the school administration to do what they want, like in universities, do you know what they have? They use their SUG. You understand? Their students' union board, government. They represent them, they tell the school authority, we need water in the hostels. You understand? The transportation system that gets us from temp site here to permanent site is too costly. We need it to be brought down. Can you arrange for coastal buses for us? Pressure groups. You understand? You have work, you have a company inside a big company like NMPC. There is no social insurance, there is no insurance for the workers. If their kids are sick, most of them, if they cannot afford the hospital, the kids, they will die because of insurance and taking care of some small things. So they will have what we call workers' union. They will have what we call workers' union. The workers' union will go and tell management. Management, we need social insurance. We need hospital allowance. We need this, we need that. Is that clear? Such groups are known as what? Such groups are known as what? Pressure groups. They pressurize the management to do something for them. Is that clear? To make better their stay. So that is what pressure groups do. So we say that a pressure group is an organized social interest group formed with the aim of what? Pursuing its interest and influencing the government policies to the benefit of its what? Members, but not attempting to control the what? Government machinery directly by contesting election. They don't contest election. They are not political parties. Is that clear? Political parties, they contest in elections, is it not? But pressure groups, they don't contest. Nigerian Labour Union, are they political parties?
No, they don't have.
But if government increases the price of fuel, what will happen?
They come out and
They protest. You understand? They don't want you to make things difficult for their members.
But now,
who are the members of the Labour Congress? Workers, all the workers, is it not? They don't want the workers to say, hey, we are buying fuel 100 naira now. We cannot even afford it. We cannot even send our children to school. Do you see the functions of pressure groups? Do you see their different types and what they do? They don't want the government to do anyhow. They check and balance the government. They try to do what? Influence government what? Policies in order to benefit who?
members.
Their members, but not attempt to control the government machinery directly by what? Contesting election. Is that clear? And we have different types of pressure groups. We have what? Different types of pressure groups. We have the economic pressure groups. We have occupational pressure groups. Where do we see occupational pressure groups? Workers union. If you go to a construction firm, you see their workers union. If the management of that construction firm is not providing safety and other things, they will shout. They will say no, they are no longer having helmets and boots for work. Is that clear? We have professional pressure groups. Where do we have professional pressure groups? You know, we have Medical Association of Nigeria, isn't it? That controls the doctors and all those things. They call them what? Professional. Professional, something like lawyers, doctors, you understand? Their own union, they are known as what? Professional what? Pressure group. You have social pressure groups. You have religious in the church and mosque, isn't it? You have educational pressure groups. Like in the university, you have the Senior Staff Association, isn't it? Junior staff, isn't it? Then we have promotional, those that are in charge of like NGO, those people that are helping people. Is that clear? Is that clear? So those are the pressure groups that we have. Those are the what? Pressure groups that we have. We have economic pressure groups. These are pressure groups whose main aim is formed to pursue what? Economic welfare. Occupational are formed by what? Workers, isn't it? Professional are formed by people like what? Doctors, teachers, lawyers, architects, isn't it? Social pressure groups are groups like what? Old Boys Association. You people have it, isn't it?
Which groups are?
Old Boys Association. I have it in my school. Old boys. When you finish from your school, you have old boys, isn't it? If you people go out now and make money, later you people might just come hold small meeting, that's people in the school. Old boys for your secondary school. You have your group chat, isn't it? So Old Boys Association, Old Girls Association, Student Union, SUG, not all of them are social pressure groups, your youth clubs and so on and so forth. Religious pressure groups are those groups formed with the aim of pursuing their religious what? Interests, isn't it? Educational pressure groups are whose major aims is to seek what? Improvement of educational system. They want the educational system to do what? Improve. They will have promotional, like I told you, which promote the cause of the less privileged people. Is it not? Is it not? So those are the pressure groups that we have. Those are the what? Pressure groups that we have. Now we look at functions of pressure groups. We look at what? Functions. What are the functions of pressure groups? Number one is that pressure groups act as a watchdog that check the activities of the government. They act as what? Watchdog to check the activities of the what? Government. If there is no pressure group, government will wake up one day and tell you that the fuel price is now 300 naira and nobody will battle them. But if government knows that if they increase even 1 naira, that tomorrow protests will fill the whole street, will they increase it like that? They will calm down. So the pressure groups check, they ask a check and balance, they make the government not to do anyhow. Is that clear? So as what the pressure groups prevent maladministration and check dictatorial tendencies of the government. The pressure group will make sure that government does not turn into dictatorship. Wakes up one morning and say, I'm increasing the price of this, increasing, no. They don't allow it. So secondly, although pressure groups do not contest in election, they help to ensure smooth elections by showing concern in every stage of the world election. They don't contest, but they tell you things to do. You can see that most people that are in APC, most of them join the protest that happened during Goodluck Jonathan. Is it not? Anything protest, all those times that Goodluck Jonathan did subsidy. Do you remember subsidy?
Yes.
You see that it was mostly FCC members that championed the protest, apart from the NLC that owns it. You see LPC members championing. You understand? So the pressure groups sometimes they help in bringing in new government. You understand? Because when the pressure groups like NLC comes and tells you that this present government is not doing good, they protest. What will you do? It's likely that people will not like that government again in the next election. They will vote for the next an alternative opposition party, isn't it? Now, pressure groups like chambers of commerce, mining, agriculture and industry, trade association contribute immensely to the economic growth and development of the world country. Pressure groups contribute a lot in educating their members and members of the public on their political rights. They help to increase the standard of living of the members through fighting for increase in their salaries and wage. Does that happen? Does that happen? What's the new minimum wage now? What's the current minimum? 18,500 or 18,000, isn't it? But you see now that Labour Congress wants Nigeria to increase the minimum wage to 40-something thousand, is it not? They are fighting for minimum wage to increase to 25, okay? They want your standard of living to be okay. So they fight for you. That's what pressure groups do. Now, pressure groups offer useful expert advice to government. Some expert members of pressure groups serve government in different categories, like in tribunals, panels, and communities. Now, how do pressure groups work? Mode of operation. How do they, if pressure group like NLC, if they want to do something, how do they do it? How do they make government not to increase the price of fuel? How do they ensure that gay law is not passed in the National Assembly? Or that gay law is passed in the National Assembly? If you go to places like America, you see plenty pressure groups. You see the ones that are for gay rights. You know what they call gay rights?
Yeah,
those fighting for what? What is gay? Homosexuality. You understand? Here in Nigeria, we don't allow homosexuality. If you see man and man, you go shout, you go one beat those people. It's not our portion, but
it's not our culture.
Okay, it's not our culture. But if you go to America now, you see people that are standing for gay rights. If you do anything for them, if you don't employ them, you see they will charge you to court. They will not even allow the gay to spend his money. They will use their own money and do it for them. So how do pressure groups work? Number one is what we call lobbying. Number one is what? Lobbying. Pressure groups lobby members of the legislature in order to pass laws that are favorable to their ward members. Do you know what they call lobbying? Do you know what they call lobbying? Now, Obasanjo, during his regime now, he wants to pass a law or a bill, or he wants something, he wants the National Assembly to approve his budget. He will lobby. Do you know how they lobby? You pick some members of that National Assembly, call them one side. Yeah, father. This people should help me. Once you go to the National Assembly the next day, once they say the A, if you support say A, you know that's what they normally say in the National Assembly. If you don't support saying A, you understand? You call some of them and do what? You lobby them. And in Nigeria, they normally use money to lobby. Ghana must go. Understand? Ghana must go. The next day, all of them will now come to the National Assembly. Say the way they say the A say A, the S, before you know, everybody raises and supports it. You understand? That is called what? That is called what? Lobbying. Is that clear? Now, for gay rights, let's say now you have somebody that is a gay inside National Assembly, and they are saying, if you're in support of let's approve the rights of gay people, say A. Will the person say A or say nay? He will say A. You understand? Because he understands the plight of gay people. Now, if you're a father, then you have kids, and out of your 4 boys, 3 of them are gay. You understand? And they are saying that gay is outlawed in Nigeria, that if they see somebody that you go to jail for 10 years. You understand? And all of a sudden, pressure group is pressing and saying we want gay people to have rights. Now you're a member of National Assembly, and now they bring up the topic. Do we allow gay people, since people are pressurizing us? Will you say A or nay? You say A because you don't want your kids not to have the opportunity other people are having. Is it not? Do you see that? So you have to like pressurize somebody on the inside to support you. So how do you pressurize somebody on the inside? If the person is not your relation, you have to lobby the person. You have to do what? Lobby the person. You have to lobby those people in the National Assembly so that they will support you. Is that clear? So we are using gay pressure group as an example, is it not? So, but you know, it mustn't be gay. It must be people that are lobbying. It might be people that are lobbying for decrease in export duties, like all those people that are doing importation. You understand? If the National Assembly want to increase the tariff on bringing in rice, what would they do? You know, they have plenty money. Yeah. They will corner most people in the National Assembly. See, once they talk, no one no agree. You understand? You see the next day they will come. If you are in support of let's increase the tariff on the importation of fuel, say you see everybody will keep quiet. Even though they know that if they reduce the tariff, that it will help Nigeria. You understand? They will keep quiet because they have been done what? They have been done what? Lobbying. Is that clear? So you use lobbying to make sure that what you want happen. You understand? So that's what pressure groups do. They lobby the members of the legislature in order for them to do things that will favor their members. Is that clear? So So that's one of their modes of operation. Then the second mode is what we call ultimatum. The second mode is what we call what? Ultimatum. What is ultimatum? These are final statements of condition pressure groups issue to be accepted by the government, without which action they may deem necessary will be taken. Now you give me an example of ultimatum. When NLC tells government, if you don't reduce that price of fuel by Monday, you are starting a nationwide strike or a nationwide protest. That is what we call what? Ultimatum. Final statement. You tell him, it's either you reduce this price of fuel or we'll go on strike or we'll go on protest. Is that clear? You see that ultimatum is what is mostly used in Nigeria. Is it not? That's what is mostly used. People that are working as lecturers, they will give you ultimatum and say, by this thing, if you don't increase our salary and pay us all our arrears that they will do it through their union. You understand? Once you don't do it, you are going on what? You are going on strike. That is ultimatum. Do you understand it? Lots of do you understand ultimatum? Then number 3 is what? Strikes and what? Boycott. You see? After ultimatum, what happens? If the government did not meet up with the ultimatum, what happens? Strikes and what? Boycotts. Pressure groups use this main weapon in achieving their aims and objectives at the expiration of what? Ultimatum. Can you see that strikes and boycotts happens when? Good. So we say that strikes and ultimatums happen at the expiration of their what? Ultimatum. So once an ultimatum expires, then we'll have what we call what? Strike and what? Boycott. Is that clear? When workers stop work and keep away from the activities of government, they are said to have gone on strikes and what? Boycott. So what is strike? Strike is when workers stop coming to work. That is strike. Then what is another mode of operation? Pressure groups on the what? Executive. They will find their people there.
Okay, executive.
Yes. They can find their people there. Who was the former leader of NLC? Adams Osomele. Did you find him as a member of executive of which state? That's your state bar. So they can find themselves as a member of the what? Executive. They can take themselves there so that the person will do things that will affect them too. So pressure groups also mount serious pressure on the executive arm of government to initiate some legislature or to withhold their assent or refuse signing some bills passed in the what? Legislature by law. Then another way they can do their action is by demonstration. By what? What's the word we normally use for demonstration? Pro what? Protest. Is it not? Two-Face wanted to organize one protest last time. Though he didn't finish it, but why didn't he finish it? Some people were against it.
Some people are saying some official of the government has already
spoken to him, yes. You understand? So they try to disabuse his mind from it. You understand? And that's why demonstration or protest is not happening. Demonstration. Pressure groups also use demonstrations, which may be peaceful or what? Violent.
Violence.
You understand? And that was what he said that made him not to. He said that some people wanted to hijack the demonstration and turn it into violence one, whereas he wanted to do peaceful. That's why he cancelled it. So pressure groups use demonstration, which may be peaceful or violent, with the use of placards in order to drive home their demands. What is placards? Placard na that thing where they carry now. They won't do protest, they will carry. We say no to too much traveling. We say no to this one, we say no. You see that thing they carry, you understand? Yeah, that's what we call placard. So they carry it around during demonstration. Is that clear? So what other mode? Consultation. Consultation. You understand? What do you understand by consultation? Pressure groups consult and are consulted by government officials before some policies are made and what executed. If government want to do something for this university, government might decide to let me call the senior staff association. Remember, let them come, let's discuss what are the actual things that you people need, so that government will not go and be doing another thing, whereas the thing they need is this place. You understand? You want to satisfy their wants, so you call them. That is what we call what? Consultation. That's why we say a good leader should always consult. You want to do something for a community, you need to go to that community, consult their leader or their chief or their emir, say what do your community need, so that once you do it, everybody will be happy. Is that clear? That is called consultation. Then another thing they use is what? Riots, hijacking and holding of people hostage. That one is bad. But pressure group do it, isn't it? Sometimes they will cause riots if they see that the government is so stubborn. You understand? Maybe government says something, they say this is what they want. Government did not agree. Government starts arresting them and putting some of them in jail. What would that cause? It might cause riots. They will start disturbing the community. So what other thing do they do? Protest letters. They can write protest letters. Is that clear? They can write protest letters. So that's where we stop. So those are the things that pressure groups can do. Those are the way they operate. You understand? So number one way pressure groups operate is by what? Ultimatum. By what? Present letters. By what? Consultation. Lobbying. Riot. Protesting, which is we also call demonstration, is it not? So those are the ways they operate. Yes, welcome. Today we're going to be looking at public opinion. We're going to be looking at what? Public opinion. Public opinion. What is public opinion? In Nigeria now, there is this belief that things are harsh. The economy is harsh, isn't it? That's what everybody believes. And that's why Two-Face wanted to lead a protest the other time that never took place, isn't it? So, public opinion is the belief that people have. You understand? At every given time. There is the belief that the economy is very harsh. And that's why Labour Congress, they did a protest, isn't it? As that of Two-Face fell, there was a protest by the Labour Union. There is also belief that the fight against corruption is not balanced, isn't it? That is also public opinion. Exactly. So that belief that the people, the population have at every given time is what we call public opinion. So we say that public opinion is the what? Collective beliefs, judgments, and what? Views held by majority of the what? Citizens of a country about the public policy or action of the what? Government. Is that clear? So you remember when they removed fuel subsidy during Goodluck Jonathan's regime? What happened? There were protests, isn't it? So it was the public opinion then that there is no reason why the government should remove the what? Fuel subsidy. So that's what people believe. Exactly. So public opinion has a lot of things to do with what happens. If government learns that the public opinion is for them not to remove fuel subsidy, what will they do? They will not remove it. So public opinion goes a long way in informing the government on how to govern the people, isn't it? So that is what public opinion. Now we say functions of public opinion. What are the things that public opinion can do for us in Nigeria? What are the things? Number one, it directs government in knowing what the public thinks about the policies and action. Is that clear? When the people protest, what do they think about the government action or policy? Is it good or bad? Bad. It means that the government policy at that very moment is what? Bad. And that was why people protested against the fuel subsidy removal. And what did government do? They reverted back the price by some percentage, isn't it? So, public opinion tells the government what to do. It tells it what the people think about its what policies. Is that clear? Number two, it helps in making government by way of what moderating her actions and if possible rescinding some action. Just like they remove face of the government had to do what? It has to do what? It has to resign and get back to the former price of pump price, isn't it? And or even reduce this more. Is that clear? So government might want to like increase the prices of food by way of taxing or anything. You see people who protest or people who continue to condemn it. When AIT goes to interview or MTA goes to interview, you see people talking wrongly or talking bad about that very policy. What will government do? They will resign it. Then thirdly, it helps government in knowing the needs and aspiration of the world citizens. When you listen to public opinion, it will help you to know what and what you need to do for the people. Is that clear? When you listen to public opinion, it helps you to know what and what you need to do for the people in order to make them happy. If you know that they don't want you to remove first subsidy, will you go and remove it? If you go and remove it, you have problem with it. Now, another thing is that it wakes up government and its agencies from what? Slumber. Sometimes they will be like now you see protest, people go and protest at the National Assembly. Isn't it? That's what they've been doing recently. They are trying to tell the government that you people should not be sleeping while we are suffering. You have to do something, isn't it? So that's one of the functions of public opinion. And finally, we have it helps in formulation of what? Policies. If the masses think that there should be rights for gay people, that means there could be a legislation that ensures their rights, isn't it? But when the masses say we don't want gay rights in Nigeria, what will happen? There will be no legislation supporting it. So it goes a long way in helping to formulate policies, both legislation for the government. And during election times, it helps to ascertain government popularity. Is that clear? It helps to ascertain government popularity. You remember before the last election, everybody was saying PDP is not doing well, isn't it? And that's why PDP was voted at and another government was voted in. Which government? APC. So public opinion will help you to know whether you're still popular. You understand? When people are talking wrongly about or badly about all your policies, what does that mean? It means that you're no longer popular, isn't it? But when they start talking good about your policies, that means you're still good. So now we look at measurement of public opinion. How can you measure public opinion? How do you get to know the public opinion? How to measure what? Public opinion.
19.9%, while the abundance of carbon 13.
So what is public opinion? What is public opinion? Collective belief, you understand? Public opinion has to be the collective. If it is what only people that are in Aba believe that the government is not good, whereas the people in the other part of Nigeria are saying that government is good, is it a public opinion that government is not good? No. It has to be what? Collective. Most of the population have to say that this is this. And that's why currently the public opinion about Buhari's government is that the economy is very harsh, isn't it? Everybody says the same thing. Whether you go to the north, you go to the south. Prices of food are very high, isn't it? That's the current public opinion. So it has to be collective. If it is not collective, then it might be political, isn't it? So now we look at what? Measurement of public measurement of public opinion. How can you measure public opinion? Number one, you can do that by conducting what we call opinion poll. That's one way of doing it, by conducting opinion poll. Number two, you can do that by conducting an election. Number three, you can do that by conducting a referendum. Number 4, you can do that through the mass media. And finally, number 5, you can do that by having what we call public response. So these are the ways through which you can measure public opinion. These are the ways through which you can do what? Measure public opinion. These are the 5 ways through which you can measure public opinion. You can measure public opinion through opinion poll, through election, through referendum, through the mass media, and through public response. This one involves asking questions to selected sample of people. That's what we call opinion poll. When you select sample of people in the given population. Exactly. When you come to Google Ada, you interview ask 10 people questions. Exactly. And you assume that those 10 people, the answer they give you is the same as the answer that every other person in Google Ada will give you. Exactly. You go to Cuba, you select 20 people, ask, isn't it? So when you're doing such, you're collecting what we call what? Opinion pool. Then number 2, you know what election is, isn't it? Election, when you conduct election is very easy way of determining public opinion. If the public is saying that APC is not good, during the election, what will happen? They won't vote APC. Then you already know the public opinion. They will show APC that they don't like their policies, isn't it? Just like the way they showed PDP that they don't like their policies by voting them out. So how you can determine the public opinion of Nigeria towards the governance of APC could be through the next election. If APC returns to power, then what it means is that the public opinion is still favorable to them. You understand? That some of their policies are still what? Good. But if they don't return, that means what they are doing is not acceptable, isn't it? So that's another way of getting the belief of people through election. Through referendum. Do you know what is called referendum? In UK the other time, they conducted a referendum based on, there is this opinion that England, you understand, or Britain should go out from Europe, the rest of Europe. We call it Brexit. Britain people going out from the rest of Europe. You know, Europe, they are using one currency known as euro. You understand? They are doing most things together. So Britain wanted to go out, so they conducted what we call what? Referendum. People will vote and say, no, I don't want to go out, I want to stay in. And that is what the people of Biafra, they are pushing for. They want to conduct a referendum. They want every Igbo person to vote on whether they want to stay in Nigeria or they want to go out. That's what they are pushing for, but the Nigerian government says they will not allow it, and they've not gotten foreign support for it. You understand? So referendum is when you can be able to, you understand, determine your fate, or determine whether you like a policy or you don't like it. Exactly. So in that way you can also show your opinion. If you vote yes for it, that means the thing is good, isn't it? When you vote no, that means the thing is not what? Good. That is what we call referendum. It's a method of referring a political question or government policy to the electorate for approval or what? Disapproval. So election, you know, the act of what? Choosing a what? Representative or government what? Government personnel. So that's what you do during election. Well, the referendum is referring a political question or government policy referring a political question or government policy to the electorate for approval or disapproval, to the electorate for approval or disapproval. So that is what referendum is. When you refer a political question or government policy to the electorate for approval or disapproval, that is what referendum is. Then thirdly, we have through mass media. Pay attention first, I will need to interrupt. Through mass media, how can you get public opinion through mass media? That's very simple. By which people? Which people will conduct the interview? All these ones are mostly interviewed. This during the election by ENE. This by special organizations. This also by the government. So, which people will do the interview that mass media can get information from? Journalists, like people like what? NTA what? AIT channels, isn't it? When they go about, you see channel people in the street now, they'll come and ask you, how are you feeling about the current government? That is, they are trying to sample your what? They are trying to sample your what? Opinion poll or your public opinion. They want to know what public is, the public is are saying about something, isn't it? So that is through mass media. You talk about news agencies like news broadcasting stations like NTA, AIT, and what channels. Exactly. Then finally through what we call public response. Through what we call what? Public response. So when you build a road and the public says that road you build is good and they are rejoicing about it, you understand? That's what we call public response. Public response. They can respond by protesting. When they respond by protesting, what does it mean? It means that the policy is not what? So these are the ways you can measure public opinion: by conducting sample opinion poll, by doing elections, you understand? By conducting referendum through the mass media or through public response. Yes, today we are going to be looking at the civil service. The civil service. The civil service. Who are the civil servants in Nigeria? You know, when you're filling a form, there is this space for occupation, isn't it? You write civil servant. How do you become a civil? Who are the people that we call civil servants? People that work in the ministries, isn't it? You go to Ministry of Finance, FCDA. Are they not? They are the civil servants. The teachers. The teachers are civil servants, right? Those people that render their services to the public and they are being paid by government, isn't it? So they are the civil servants. People that render services to the people, to the public, and they are paid by the what? Government, isn't it? They are mostly paid by the government. They are the civil servants. They work in the civil service. You understand? So when you are a civil servant, you are working in the what? Civil service. So what is civil service? Civil service is the body or the department in the executive arm of the government responsible for the execution of the policies and what? Program of the government. So they are the people that are responsible for executing the what? Policies and what? Programs of the what? Government. So what are the policies and programs of the government? Government wants mass education. They want everybody to be educated. So which people are responsible to do that? Teachers. Government wants Abuja to be developed in a nice way. Which people will be responsible for that? FCDA, the development control people, isn't it? Do you see that? Those people, government want the accounting and everything to be done well with the government. Ministry of Accounts, isn't it? Ministry of Finance, isn't it? They are responsible for that. So all those people working for the ministry, they are all known as what? Civil what? Civil servants. So all those areas of government, they are all what? Civil service. So we say that civil service is the body or the department of the executive arm of the government responsible for the execution of the policies and programs of the what? Government. Is that clear? Now, what are the characteristics of civil service? How do you know that this is a civil service and this is not a political party? How can you differentiate a civil service from a political party? From a private company? How can you do that? Number one, permanence. Number one is what? Permanence. There is a political party that will come up today, tomorrow it will no longer be in existence, isn't it? Can you still hear about SDP, the party that brought MKO Abiola into power? Is it still in existence? It has gone. What of AC, former AC that later became former AAC, later AD, then APC? Those ones have gone out, isn't it? So they are not permanent, isn't it? But civil service is what? Permanent. There will always be teachers. Can you one day say there will be no teachers again? Or can you one day say there will be no longer Ministry of Finance? For the government to run, there has to be Ministry of what? Finance. So that's what we mean by permanence. It is essentially a permanent government what? Institution. It has to be there. Number two, neutrality. Number two is what? Neutrality. Will you say because APC is now the leading government that you will no longer teach? Whether it's APC that is leading Nigeria or a PDP or even AD or even another party that we've not seen come in, you will still be a teacher, isn't it? So you have to be neutral no matter the political party that is there. All civil service or civil servants, they have to be what? Neutral. You don't have to go and say because I'm in support of PDP, I will not do my work since APC is now the government in the country. Anonymity. Anonymity. Once there are actions that come out from a very civil service institution, you understand, you cannot hold the individual civil servant responsible for those actions. Is that clear? You can only hold somebody like the minister or the commissioner who is the head of that very civil service institution. Is that clear? And they are not allowed to do press briefs. They are not allowed to be, if you're a civil servant, you're not supposed to be talking to the press. You know the people that are the press. So you cannot talk to the press except when you have the authority of the what? Minister. Except when you have the authority of the what? Minister. Impartiality. Impartiality is not allowing political interest to affect your what? Service. You have to be impartial. Whether it's PDP, whether it's APC, provided you're a civil servant, you have to do your work. You have to do what? You have to do your work without fear and favor. Without fear and favor. Then there are other characteristics of civil servants. The last three characteristics of civil servants. The last three characteristics of civil servants. How many have I written? 4, huh? So number 5 is what we call expertise. Number 5 is what we call what? Expertise. You have to be an expert. You have to be knowledgeable in that area that you're working. You cannot go to the Ministry of Finance and be working when you don't have knowledge in economics and accounting, isn't it? If you have knowledge in economics and accounting, that's when you can do well in working in the civil service in the area of finance, isn't it? So you have to be an expert. You have to be what? Knowledgeable. Is that clear? You have to be knowledgeable and what? Intelligent in your area of what? Specialization. Then number 6 characteristic is that civil service has to be by merit and what? Achievement. Is that clear? Recruitment into civil service. When you are recruiting, is that clear? Recruitment into civil service has to be
energy
by
or shells.
merit.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
When you want to bring in people into a civil service, you have to conduct a test, isn't it?
Look at this.
You pick the best. You don't just go and bring somebody because it's your brother or it's your sister. What will happen?
The smallest shell.
It will bastardize the whole thing. People will not be doing the right work because they are not competent. Is that clear? So whenever you want to recruit people into civil service, it has to be by what? It has to be by what? Merit. Then lastly, number 7. In civil service, there is always what we call bureaucracy. You can also call it red tapism. Do you know what they call bureaucracy? Pay attention, I'll give you time to write. Do you know what they call bureaucracy? Do you know what they call bureaucracy? In civil service, there is always bureaucracy. In civil service, there is always bureaucracy. Bureaucracy simply means the rules and what? Regulations. You understand? Rules, regulations, and what? Hierarchy. Exactly. Rules, regulations, and hierarchy that governs the civil service. If you want to go on leave and you're working, somebody has to sign your leave, isn't it? If you work for some time, somebody has to recommend you for promotion, isn't it? If you want to get money for allowance, somebody has to sign it, isn't it? So those are the rules and regulations, the bureaucracy that is in what? Civil service. And sometimes we complain about bureaucratic bottleneck. If you want to get something out, a simple something, to take so long because this organ has to sign, this organ has to do this one. You understand? So that is a very important characteristic of civil service. There is always what we call bureaucracy. Is that clear? So you can write. Yes, let's look at pre-colonial administration. Pre-colonial administration is simply the forms of government that every society had before the white men, the Europeans, came to Africa or came to that society and started colonialization, bringing in their own form of government. So before the advent of the Europeans or the British people to Nigeria, Nigeria already had government in place. Though they came around and told us that our government, we didn't actually have something in place, or what we had was not good. But actually we had something that was similar, or something that is similar to what we have now. So their form of government that they brought in, we already had similar things. And that is what we're going to be looking at today. So pre-colonial administration is the traditional system of government in Africa before the colonization by the Europeans. This traditional government has most elements and arms similar to the system brought by the colonial masters. So we're going to find out that in most of the traditions, the traditional government that we had before the advent of the colonial masters had most of the things that the current government is having. So let's look at the Hausa. The Hausas have the emir, like the president. They have the waziri, like the prime minister that advises the emir. They have the madawaki, who is the commander of army, just like we have the chief of army staff, what we're having now. They have the galadima, who is the administrator of the capital, just like we have the FCT minister. They have the chief of police, Sarki Yanduka, just like we have the IGP of police. So you see that they have virtually everything that we have now. So you see, the pre-colonial administration in Nigeria was very, very strong, just like the government that the white people helped us bring in. So we have other things like the Sarkin Father, who is the head of the palace workers. We have the Maji, who is in charge of the treasury, just like they have the Minister of Finance. They also had it then already. So in the Yoruba land, very similar, like in the Oyo Kingdom, we have the Alafin of Oyo, just like the king or the president, who has his cabinets, like the person in charge of the Sango, that is the deity, the Otunefa, and the Onaefa, who is in charge of the judiciary, just like we have the judiciary in the our current things. We also have the OCFA, who is in charge of finance. We have the Council of the Oyomesis, who are the royal aristocrats or the kingmakers, the chiefs, headed by the Basharon, who is the prime minister. And we also have the Oboni, which is the secret society of prominent diviners, headed by Noloun. And we also have the army chief, heading the army, known as the Area Onum Kakafo. Sorry if I don't pronounce it this way. So that is the system, and those are the elements of the government we have in the Yoruba Kingdom, similar to what we have in the Hausa Kingdom. But then in the Igbo Kingdom, there was no central authority, just like we had here. Igbo Kingdom, the leadership was mostly by the age grades, the village elders. Every village that you go, they have their own age grade, the groups that determine what happens or that makes rules about what happens in the society. So there is no central person like the Alafin of Oyo or the Emir in the Igbo society. And that was why when the colonial masters came, it was easier for them to administer in the north or the west, where they already had central government that talks to everybody. Unlike in the eastern part of Nigeria or the Igbo land, where the various villages have the groups. They also have what we call the traditional democracy of Umunna. Umunna, everybody comes together to make the rules. That's what we have in Igbo land. So all this tells us that actually in Africa, before the Europeans came, we had very strong government in place. Very strong government in place. And even up until now, part of this government are still functioning. We still have the Emir of Kano, the Sultan of Sokoto, the Alafin of Oyo is still there, the Obas, the Oba of Benin, the Ezes and the Igwes in the Igbo land. So we also have, we still have some part of that pre-colonial structure still existing, but in another form, maybe not having as much power they had before the or during the pre-colonial administration. So that is what we have for pre-colonial administration. If you like this video, please click on the subscribe button, share our videos. Thank you. God bless you.